2nd and 10. All day to throw it. Well, not quite all day. Maybe one play. Doyle doing it on both ends. On both sides of the football. This will be from...
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Looks to continue the dynasty, and the Bears do it again. Yet another sack. That is their 9th of the night.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
3rd and goal at the 8th. Bohannon looking, he's got it! Touchdown, Tyquan Thornton!
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
Here comes the blitz. Fake throw. Prescott hangs in, throws, caught! That is Lamb, and Lamb is, as the field judge looks at it, a touchdown.
Now here's David Smoak and Craig Smoak.
All right, here we go on this Monday, April the 11th. Paul Catalina out today, might be back with us tomorrow. Craig Smoak is here. I'm back from Friday watching and having a chance to enjoy the second round of the Masters. In studio today, Jack McKenzie runs the mothership. Armstrong is in Spain. Yep. We can't give away the secrets of why he's in Spain. Also, Faith Lynch in studio, as is Emery Winter. Good afternoon. The Masters is over. Major League Baseball going on full throttle. And, of course, tonight the WNBA draft, including Baylor's Nalissa Smith and Queen Egbo, who will be drafted at some point. And Nalissa Smith, possibly the first, most likely the second pick overall in the draft. Now, I'm going to throw this out there right now for the YouTube channel. Craig and David Smoak with you, Sikkim 365 Radio. I've got the hiccups, and I've had them a lot lately. And I've tried to drink water through a paper towel in a cup. I have tried the blow into a brown paper sack. I have tried to, scare myself, as if I don't know how you do that if you're the one that's trying to scare yourself. I've tried to take a spoonful of sugar and swallow that, and basically not much of it is working long term. Craig, do you have any home economics type ideas of how I can get rid of this hiccups?
I don't know how economics would help. I don't know you can pay to get the hiccups to go away, but no, I don't know, because I don't have an explanation for why you've had them so often. I know why I got them initially, but this is like the 4th time in the last month, so no, I have no idea, and yeah, I wish somebody out there had some kind of a cure, because I can only imagine how annoying it is to have to deal with this once again.
Mike Games gargles salt water. I will try to do that. I just took a glass of water, put a cloth over the top of it like a paper towel, and tried to drink through that. That's worked before, and so we'll have some fun with that if we possibly can. Now, Armstrong's out again throughout the entire week, so Jack is doing triple duty. Faith again and Emery here, thank goodness, to help us out along the way. Jack, do you have a couple of the tweets that I sent to you from Craig? This is following Baylor weekend. They had a scrimmage on Saturday, and again, there's not a lot of great access, but these are a couple of comments that Craig summarizes. Jack a lot of times puts the audio up. Sometimes either Grayson or Colt or whoever will summarize what they saw, and Craig also goes back and summarizes it not only after where he's been, but later on with quotes as well. These are from Dave Aranda. For us to be who we want to achieve things, we're going to have to be able to find a way for a 4-man rush to let loose and let go. Craig, is he talking about being able to put pressure on the quarterback without using some kind of a blitz package?
Yeah, that's exactly what he's talking about, is 4-man rush. Yeah, he wants his line to be able to create pressure and not have to use creepers or use other forms of pressure, other blitzers to have to, get to the quarterback. And that's something that last year they were unable to do, really. They had to use a lot of, Jalen Petrie or whoever you want to throw, any number of safeties and linebackers they were using to create pressure at times, and Jalen Petrie quite often. But he's gone. So, you don't have him as an option anymore. And, certainly it's not just a plug and play for whoever replaces Jalen Petrie. They're not going to be able to do exactly what he was able to do. But No, he needs his defensive line to be able to create pressure on their own in certain situations and not have to rely on other guys. And he didn't get to it more in depth than that of, why exactly that is in terms of what they're wanting to do that's perhaps different from last year. But they wanted to do it last year, and they went and got Apuika out of the transfer portal, and that helped a little bit, but they were still reliant on, a lot of other outside pressure. So, yeah, that's something that they're trying to get more of it up front. And if they can't do that, then they're not going to be able to meet the goals that they want. I'm sure they can find, some type of way around it, but it won't be exactly what they're looking for. So that's a work in progress. And, other than that, the D-line reviews were pretty good, except for the fact that he keeps hammering home that, they haven't been able to quite find that rhythm or that performance that he's looking for out of the D-line and out of getting pressure.
Well, and that's part of it. You want to, Jack, put those up one more time. That was the first quote. Also, it goes basically into the second. The development so far in spring has been good, but I still think something to be desired there in terms of your four-man pass rush, even with the additions of Jackson Player, among others. Yep.
Yeah, he repeats it. Again, a lot to be desired in terms of the four-man pass rush. So just saying the same thing over again, really. And yeah, I think I already explained that.
All right, so a couple of you have already given me some ideas on the chat room for hiccups and even on the text line as well. One, the 903, which is East Texas, some doctor was on Shark Tank not long ago with a device called Hickaway. And it looks like almost like an old plastic razor. Some device, so I'll look up that and see what that can possibly do. So that's what I got today. Every once in a while, you're going to hear that on the show as well. Now, in other news, a couple of tragic stories over the weekend. One of them involving former Ohio State star and also NFL quarterback Dwayne Haskins, who was killed while he was trying to cross the highway on the initial reports and was hit by a dump truck. Haskins was a fantastic player at Ohio State, picked by Washington. He was with Pittsburgh, and they're going to honor him during Ohio State's spring game. There were a chunk of spring games going on this past weekend. We featured some of them. We're going to feature some of them again today with writers, but also today, Ohio State has made that announcement to honor Dwayne Haskins, and what a story that was, and a tragedy for the young quarterback.
Yeah, just awful news. Absolutely terrible news. I still remember being at the draft when Dwayne Haskins was selected. I want to say it was Nashville. And I want to say it was Nashville because me and my co-host at the time, after it was over, we were walking around and we didn't have a car. That was one thing that was tough about those draft trips was we never had a car, so we were having to Uber all over the place, and Nashville was a bit more spread out than some of the other locations where you can kind of just stay in one area and just walk everywhere. We were having to kind of travel a little bit more. So I remember we took this long-ass walk to the gas station and to like a restaurant after the draft was over with, and then like eventually made it back to wherever we were staying, which is kind of on the outskirts. But the reason why I say all that is because throughout a lot of that conversation, and I remember talking about Dwayne Haskins and being excited about Dwayne Haskins and, just excited that there was a guy who seemed excited to be going to Washington, seemed excited to, be the quarterback, and they seemed excited about him. And I know how that's how it is on draft night every time. But for some reason, I just remember being really excited about him. And I remember, some people going, well, there's this and there's that, to his game or whatever. And I was like, I just, the Redskins are so desperate for quarterbacks. You're just like, hey, let this be their guy. Let this be their, brand new young star. And I was really hopeful for that. But ultimately what I took away from Dwayne Haskins was just how much I enjoyed listening to his draft interviews during those couple of days. And then, seeing Terry McLaurin get picked and then being able to reunite and talk to each other. And I just thought I really enjoyed all of that. I really enjoyed what looked like it was going to be, kind of a transition for Washington. And obviously didn't get to see a whole lot of Dwayne Haskins ultimately, but that just stuck out with me, like his smile and how personable he was and how much his teammates seemed to love him and all of that before he ever took an NFL snap. So I was kind of a fan of his. And, just to see that news on Saturday out of complete nowhere like that and the circumstances of it, which still don't make a whole lot of sense. And, I haven't seen if they've released any more details. And if they don't, they don't. But just shocking. I mean, just completely out of the blue. And I didn't even really know how to wrap my head around it, so I can't even begin to imagine how his teammates and his family members and his Ohio State brethren and all that, I can't even begin to imagine at his age and as bright of a light as he seemed to have been. It's just an awful, awful story, and I just feel so terrible for his family, and I feel terrible for Dwayne Haskins, who was so young and got taken away so young with so much, to play for, live for, love for, and all of that. Just an awful, awful story.
Yeah, it really was. A young man that you could see by the reaction from players at Ohio State, former high school players, and just people throughout the country. It was a bad deal. And also on top of that, yesterday evening I noticed a note from Clarence Hill, who writes and covers the Cowboys for the Fort Worth Star-Telegram. Craig, I'm not sure if you saw this or not, but former running backs coach Gary Brown, who was a star running back at Penn State, played with the Oilers, coached elsewhere. He passed away. I think he was 39 and had been in hospice for a couple of weeks. And he passed away at a very young age. And Clarence Hill, one of the...
He was 52.
I'm 52. Clarence Hill made the comment yesterday on Twitter that during training camp, I think it was in California, in Oxnard, he would go pick up Gary Brown on occasion on an off day, and they'd go find the best seafood restaurant they could, that he loved seafood, and they had great talks and whatever else. And so Gary Brown, his wife Kim, and 3 kids, our condolences and our prayers to their family as well. Just a horrible couple of days with stories. Now, the Masters. We're going to hear from Ross Dellinger. He was there for SI.com. He's going to join us today at 4. His thoughts about Scotty Scheffler. His thoughts, he was on 18 when Rory McIlroy and Colin Morikawa both made their shots from the bunker right of number 18. And then, of course, the weekend that was with Tiger. It did not end well, but it started with a bang, and he wrote a story about that, and we'll hear from him today at 4 o'clock. We're also going to check in with writers who cover Pitt. Without Kenny Pickett this year, USF and Florida State, they both had their spring games as well. And I forgot one other name that we might have on the list today. Cole Kublik, who covers Auburn. They had theirs. He'll join us today as well. Plus, Phil Bennett, North Texas, had their spring game. He'll join us for many things, not just college football, today at 5 o'clock. Now, baseball games. Rangers are about to start their home series at home with Colorado. The Mavericks, who had a hell of a year, got a tremendous scare last night with Luka Doncic. Went down with a calf sprain. And now they don't know exactly yet, at least the last I saw, how serious it is. Is it a grade 1, a grade 2, whatever? But obviously, it's been a special 50-plus win season for the Mavericks. And Luka Doncic, who is amazing at what he does, and that team has been playing so well, that is still remains to be seen what happens with them.
Yeah, I mean, they've been playing really good basketball, and he's a big part of it, and was player of the week in the Western Conference. And to see him, potentially dinged up at the most important time of the entire season is just it's a bit maddening as a Mavericks fan. Hope he's okay, and hope he's ready to play pretty close to it, right at 100%. But that would just be typical Mavericks bad luck, for him to get all the way to this point and then all of a sudden he's got a calf strain to deal with. So, hopefully he's able to shake it off. And, they're a team that's been a little bit surprising in a good type of a way. So we'll see what's in store for them. But without him, it's, obviously tale of two teams.
No question.
I mean, it's not even close comparison. That's not something you just, you play around. He is the franchise, so hopefully he's all right.
It's amazing. Some franchises have certain, I guess you could say, success with certain type of players. Of course, Dirk Nowitzki, and the career he had, the Hall of Famer. They won an NBA title with him. Lost in the finals once as well with him, but he was incredible. And now Luka Doncic is their heart and soul of that franchise. But they've also, with Jason Kidd, been really good on defense, but we'll continue to kind of watch what's going on there. Rangers in Colorado have started their game up in Arlington at Globe Life Field, and that now is their home opener up in Arlington, Texas. Now, one other story that I also want to get into as well was, oh my God, I don't have the picture, Jack. I was going to show. I'll send you a tweet about it. It's something to do with Blake Blackmar. I want to get into that. And by the way, so far so good. The hiccups, I've kind of cured them for now, and so we appreciate you continuing to give me some advice. Here's one thing we do know: Baylor baseball is really struggling. They're 2-7 in the conference. They were swept by West Virginia. Owen opened up our chat today on 365 Sports with the Go Mountaineers. Baylor baseball, of all of the sports right now, and softball's been okay. They're treading water. They had, 3 out of 4 themselves this past week. Every week, Craig does a good, the bad, and the ugly. And right now with baseball, is really struggling. You got to wonder about where Steve Rodriguez is, where he's thinking, and where they are with that program. Nothing's going to happen right now, but I do know there's a lot of chatter right now with the baseball team and how much they've struggled this year as well, including what they did last year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to pretend to know all the ins and outs, and I'm not going to, well, if they just had a second base, I'm not going to pretend to get into all those details. I know there's some on the board that have already, examined every, pitcher and position player and broken down why they're not exactly as good as people want them to be. I mean, certainly a big problem is their bullpen. The bullpen's been bad, just bottom line. So that's hurt them. But yeah, they're one game above 500, and here we are, and they have series coming up against Texas and Texas Tech and Oklahoma State, I believe, as well. And I'm going to tell you right now, they're not going to be expected to win many of those games. So they're in a spot where the schedule's actually perhaps getting tougher, and they're running out of time, and I don't know what happens. I think I do know what happens. What happens is they don't go to the postseason. That's what happens, and I think at this stage – it's tough with a sport that's non-revenue. Like, how much do you really criticize it? You know what I mean? Like, how much, if the field isn't level, if it's not an even playing field, some schools have more advantages in terms of, like, baseball scholarships or what they're able to do and all of that. I know that Steve Rodriguez didn't have the full cupboard to play with. So, it's kind of tough to have that, and you have to keep that in mind. It's not just, hey, he's got a bunch of scholarships and he offers them and he's just not getting the guys. It's not like that. But, at the same time, for a school who is winning at a high level in pretty much everything right now, you can't, nobody's ever going to be perfect. Nobody's ever going to have every single one of their teams competing for national championships all at the same time. Something's going to give somewhere. But, when there is like sort of this standard, and they're, this many years in, and they're kind of not, they're just kind of paddling water, quite frankly, at, one game above 500 and coming off of a sweep against West Virginia. Yeah, I'm sure there are some people who are bigger baseball fans who are a little bit, I guess, annoyed. I don't know if that's the word, or a little bit upset maybe is a better word for the results that they've seen. So, yeah, I've seen some of that chatter, and the baseball folks, the big fans, they're a little bit upset by the results this year and feel like it should be a bit better than it is. So, I'll leave it to those who pay a lot closer attention week in and week out to what exactly the reasons are and how fixable things are. Like, I know you can't fix the bullpen overnight. But I also know that's not the only real problem that they have, and to blame it on just that would be disingenuous. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if we could get a barometer from Mac Rhodes, or that would be unfair to do, mid-season, but it's something to pay attention to and to see kind of how they close this season because, yeah, it has been a disappointment so far.
They went to the NCAA tournament in 19. There was no tournament in 20. They did not make it last year in 21. And this year they're above 500, but again, their Big 12 record overall is well under 500 with the meat of their schedule still to come. So that's just an update on that. And there is, just like there have been any time, and Craig's right about the success of the program across the board and how good they've been. So that's something. Mac Rose will join us tomorrow, by the way, on Sikkim 365 Radio tomorrow in the 4 o'clock hour. Now, a question about the Masters. Was what Tiger did that scratch your itch? Because I know it scratched his. And that's amazing for a guy that used to be so laser focused on nothing but winning. But because of what happened to him in his life in that wreck 17 or how many months ago it was, I have never seen him more relaxed, yet also grinding. He has always been the ultimate grinder. Not that others don't grind. Not that others don't try to somehow make the cut or win a tournament when they don't have their so-called A game. But I was blown away. The reaction and how he reacted and how he was able to be completely transparent and honest with some of the post-round interviews. Thursday, what an unbelievable day it was. Friday, not so good. Saturday was not good at all. And then yesterday, he really, really struggled. Scotty Scheffler's the story, but it's the same weekend in which Tiger came back from basically never playing again. And I think what we've seen from him, even when he won the Masters in 2013, was this laser-focused, razor-edged, cold-blooded killer, in a way, as a competitor, who is now enjoying what he gets and what he has and what he's had, and it seems like it's very refreshing. I like Tiger as a cold-blooded killer, but it does seem as if he understands life, allows you to maybe understand certain things that perhaps you did not cherish as much as you did before.
You would hope so. I think some people get second and third chances and don't, and they just take that for granted, almost like the world's supposed to work out for them. But I don't think that Tiger's taking that mentality, and that's probably why it is refreshing to watch, because it's genuine. It's not just somebody who got lucky, with an extra opportunity. So, yeah, I like that he's appreciative of being able to have a second or really a third chance in his case. And, to be at his age, I can just imagine – if you were somebody who doesn't like Tiger Woods, and I know there are those people, but, man, how pissed are you at the last couple of years? I mean, thought he was, almost literally dead. Not that anybody's rooting for that, but, there's been a couple of, career-ending type of stories to occur to him in the last several years, and both times he's bounced back from that. So it's amazing that he keeps on ticking, even though that he's been near death or near never being able to walk a course again and near whatever. Here he is, and he's still playing. And no, he didn't win or really come close to it, but I think that was a win, just him being out there and playing the way that he did. So for all the Tiger fans out there, it was a nice celebration of sorts. Could have been better, obviously, just the improbable story of winning a green jacket, but just seeing him out there was good enough. And for the people who don't like Tiger Woods, just what can you say? He's back again, and it's like nothing can stop him. Just a total machine. So I thought that I am a Tiger. I'm not going to say I'm a Tiger guy, but if I had to pick a golfer to go watch for 18 or whatever, not being a massive golf fan, yeah, he'd be my number one pick. So I root for him, casually, and I was glad to see him out there.
There's been two times that I thought he would never win again. And it was after, of course, he had basically suffered the knee injury, won the U.S. Open and beat Rocco Mediate, and then went through a lot of personal hell that he put himself through. And then had all that other stuff happen with back fusion and all the things he dealt with. I never thought I'd ever see him. Then he won. Then I said, well, he'll never win a major again. And then he won the Masters. And then he had the car wreck, and I said, he'll never play again. And silly me, because he did. Now, he wasn't competitive after the first round. He was right in the mix after the first round, but Tiger Woods over the weekend. We'll hear from Ross Dellinger on the weekend of Scotty Scheffler. Scotty Scheffler is a neighborhood friend of Armstrong Sims and his family. A neighborhood friend. I reached out to him, not Armstrong. I did text Armstrong late last night. I did reach out to Scotty Scheffler's coach, his golf instructor, and have not heard back. I'm sure he is pretty much peppered or just worn out, tired after the weekend in which Scotty Scheffler has now won 4 of the last 6 tournaments, and now also wins his first major with the Masters Championship, the Masters in the green jacket at Augusta, Georgia. From Mike on the chat room, I feel good for Tiger to come back from almost dying to being able to play all 4 rounds in the most grueling golf tournament is something special. I think he's counting his blessings. 254-339-1122. That's the text line. Twitter, at David Smoak, at Craig Smoak. Also the chat room, 365 Sports. And this is Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
At Allen Samuels, the new 2022 Wagoneer Series 2 and 3 has 2.9% for 72 months, plus $3,000 in bonus cash. All first responders get an extra $500 or take 0% for 72 months. Shop this incredible vehicle that gives you performance, style, perfect for your family, and reliability your family deserves. Today from Allen Samuels in Waco. Come shop their huge new car and truck inventory.
Come by. Let's be friends.
See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit Marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
This is Sikkim 365 Radio. Text us at 254-339-1122. The Sikkim 365 Radio text line is sponsored by Riverbend Liquor and Wine, with the most extensive variety of craft beer in Waco. A hidden gem on Lakeshore Drive and 19th Street.
All right, here we go. Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Again, Paul could be back, most likely back tomorrow. Got a couple of things he's working on at the house, and so he should be back. Now, we didn't say much because, again, it's just right now more of a wait and see or kind of keep your ear to the ground when it comes to the Big 12 and the commissioner. And I know we discussed it quite a bit after the announcement last Tuesday by the Big 12. We had Mack Rhodes on that same day, and then, of course, throughout the shows the rest of the week. And I don't know if there's a specific, like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Craig, what would you say in order of importance are the most important priorities of the new commissioner, whoever that might be, whether it's promoted within, an AD, a president, somebody else that does something in some other way?
We can just replay my answer from Friday, but we talked about this on Friday a bit. I'm trying to think of what all I said then. Somebody with an eye on the future, somebody who has a grasp of the media landscape, doesn't necessarily have to be a part of it. Just somebody with some confidence about them that can get into a room with Greg Sankey or Kevin Warren or whoever it may be and be eye to eye with those guys, not feel like you're walking in and you're already, you're walking in on your knees and they're standing upright, because I think sometimes those guys do have a little bit of an intimidate. Well, Sankey in particular, like just the whole SEC kind of powerhouse. I feel like, sometimes when you read quotes, it almost reads like somebody who feels like they can kind of throw their weight around a bit and knows that they're bulletproof. And I don't want any Big 12 commissioner going in there and feeling that way. I want somebody that feels like he's eye to eye no matter how much money's being made or games being won, because you aren't always number one. And you're not always going to be number one, no matter how many teams you bring into the conference or whatever the case may be. So and it's not just the SEC. I mean, in general, we've seen the Alliance throw its weight around in terms of some of these voting issues. So somebody who's not going to be intimidated or bullied by anybody else, no matter the Big 12's position in the pecking order. Somebody with some fresh ideas that doesn't just talk about streaming, but actually knows like what they could possibly do. Because I hear that. And it's all well and good, but if everybody's just going, well, what are your options? Well, hopefully streaming opens up. Well, if everybody's hoping that same thing, well, guess what? It's probably not going to happen that way. And it doesn't sound like a very concise plan. So, I'm not saying the guy's got to get hired and go like, we're going to be on Apple TV Plus or whatever, but like have an idea in place. Like come in with an idea in place and something that makes sense and isn't totally off the wall and that can be accomplished, that would be beneficial for the Big 12. I mean, it's pretty simple. Whatever helps the Big 12, that's what I want to see that guy do, while not at I want to see him do whatever he can to help the Big 12, not, in doing so hurting other conferences or being malicious about it in any way, but just, making the tough decisions and not worrying about outside pressures and and politics and those types of things, because I think politics was way too much a part of the Big 12 landscape for too long, and it's always going to be in college athletics. You're not going to get rid of politics, but yeah, somebody who can stand up for themselves and stand up for the groups that he needs to when he needs to, somebody with an eye on the future and some good ideas in mind about how they can maybe be different or find new money that doesn't appear to be out there right now. So those are just some of the things. There's others, but those would be the main things.
Someone who believes the conference is, like you said, a part of the same room as anybody else. Doesn't have to mean financial numbers, as you said, but somebody who will believe in the conference going into any meeting and also then be able to back it up of why. That doesn't mean he has to walk in the door and say, here's what we have, what about you? He has to believe in who he's representing, and he's representing right now what will be eventually 12 to 14 teams. Speaking of which, Mike put this out there. Surely the next fall or spring, which will be at this time next year, this is from Mike, will be the end of the Texas and Oklahoma in the Big 12. I have to think the new commissioner will want to tidy that up pretty quickly. Now, that doesn't mean it's going to happen because that's 23. This may not happen until 24, 25 year. But that is something that you wonder if the new commissioner, what role he'll have in any kind of separation or moderation or arbitration or whatever it might be.
Well, I mean, he's going to have some role, right? I mean, they're not leaving right now. So, Bowlesby has said that he's stepping down when they hire a new commissioner. They said they're hiring a new commissioner in 90 days. So, I mean, unless Oklahoma and Texas plan on leaving in the next 90 days, they're not, then yeah, they're going to have to deal with Texas and Oklahoma and help figure all of that out. So that's just going to be naturally a part of the process. I don't know what to say other than that. And I guess, yeah, it will be interesting to see how this person handles those two. If there's any history there, or if this is somebody kind of brand new to the block, I would think that you're not going to get somebody who's entirely brand new to the Big 12 that comes in with absolutely no knowledge of the conference. I also don't think you have to have somebody who's just, been in the bosom of it either for the last several years. So, I don't know where they fall ultimately on familiarity, but yeah, either way, of course you're dealing with Oklahoma and Texas, and you're getting to some roundabout way be dealing with their departures. Just a matter of if you, I guess, help accelerate it to make it happen quicker, or if you make sure that they stay to the very last day of that contract. I don't know. Like everybody, keeps bringing up Texas and Oklahoma's exit, and I have seen absolutely nothing in, quite frankly, weeks about them and any impending exit whatsoever. So that'll be for the new commish to figure out and see where they are on that. But, as it stands right now, they're still in the conference, and they're still going to be for what looks like another couple years.
Some of the other responses, in fact, that have been given to us by you, From Timothy, 3 skills would be media savvy, and media savvy. And there's a lot of ways to look through that. That's not only negotiations, but understanding how do you find dollars? How do you find ability to sell your content? One of the things that Bob Bowlesby was able to do when they found the new 4, when they decided these are the 4 we're going to go into the future with whenever Texas and Oklahoma leave, is the fact that he was able to prop up content. That's a big deal. Sometimes some of you, and even others that I know, have kind of scoffed at that. But that is going to be something the Big 12 has going forward that they better have and be able to sell it as well. From Lee, priority is to be proactive. We need to think outside of the box to make more money. SEC and Big Ten are pulling away. Weekday games, Magnolia Network. We need something to create a buzz with the Big 12. And we appreciate Lee and your response as well.
The shiplap game of the week.
Scotty,
Magnolia Network.
Scotty, I
was kind of referring to that as well. I mean, just in terms of somebody being, familiar with the media. You stated it a lot better than I did. But yeah, somebody that can, not only have a knowledge of how everything works, but yes, somebody with some good ideas that could, come up with some thing that nobody's thought of just yet, or a mutant version of maybe a small idea somebody had, and they've taken it and ran with it and turned it into, like the Big 12 game of the week on Amazon. And I know that that's far-fetched to an extent, but, I just did turn Apple TV on and saw all those MLB games, all that marketing, and that certainly looked different, but it looked good. And, we'll see if Apple pursues even more and what these other streaming networks do. But, yeah, if somebody could come up with the idea of, like, the first ever, highlighted streaming college football game of the week. But, problem is that if that happens, I would bet basically my entire paycheck that it would be the SEC will be the first to do that. Why? Because that's what we've been just kind of conditioned to, because they are the ones that have come up with a lot of the good ideas or have been on the more proactive path. But, yeah, that's what I would like to see, is somebody coming up with some ideas, making it different, giving them, like, what is the Big 12's identity? Like, when you really think about it, what is it? It's been Oklahoma and Texas, basically. That's their identity. Other than that, they're just a bunch of teams in the South and in the Central states that, aren't blue bloods, that have been at the mercy of OU and Texas, quite frankly. And even when they win, they don't get respect, because every time, a non-OU or Texas team wins a Big 12 title, OU and Texas were down this year. It's like clockwork. They were down this year. Like I saw Baylor win the Big 12 title. The quarterback play wasn't that good in the league this year. The defenses weren't there. It's always something. It's always something when it's not one of the big schools.
Who's also helped OU and Texas be down? Although OU football's been fine. They don't play for the Big 12 title. It's shocking. It's the other teams, some of the other teams around them have gotten better and kind of pushed them down a few times as well.
Yeah, there has been that. Yeah. But, and it's like, okay, well, if the quarterback plays good, then why didn't your team go win it? So it should have been easier to win it, and you guys were actually worse. So your argument sucks. But anyways, it's always been kind of the redheaded stepchildren factor with the other 10 teams, or with the other 8 teams in the Big 12. And so, with those two gone, it's going to be wildly different. And how do you market that? I mean, what do you market it as? It doesn't have the big brands. It doesn't have a ton of, the type of history that's always pointed to, which is Crystal footballs and Heisman trophies. It's got some of that, but not much of it in comparison to the two that are leaving combined. So, what's the identity of the Big 12? I mean, do you know?
I don't know if I can identify that.
And I don't know that they need one. I don't know.
Right now, it might be that they're a hell of a basketball conference with some pretty good football.
The SEC, I guess, is just Southern football and big money and, the best players and whatever.
They're an 800-pound gorilla.
Yeah, but, a lot of that is to them hammering that home over your head over and over again as well, and that's the media marketing side. Like, hey, it would be helpful if the Big 12 had a guy who kind of could nudge, like, hey, maybe give us a little love every other week or so, you know what I mean? Because there was definitely, like, an intention in the media when it came to promoting the SEC. Like, there was a plan there in the early 2000s to promote it a certain type of way.
When you are the network that has tons of money riding on the success of a network, and you have their games, although CBS did as well, the SEC network was created for a reason, and then promoted for a reason.
And so they had this entire machine behind them, and so it wasn't just college football fans all of a sudden just going, whoa, what? Look at that. The SEC, look how good the football is there. No, like when LSU beat Oklahoma in the early 2000s, I don't remember hearing jack about the SEC. Like, maybe there was some chance, but, like, that wasn't registering in my head. It was only until, like, that kind of started building in those next few years. And then the Floridas and Bamas and all that got involved to where that machine really started rolling. But that was non-existent in 2000, 2001, 2002. I mean, it was like mid-2000s when that really started going. So we've had about 15, 16 years of like that kind of, and I don't mean the term propaganda negatively, because again, like I said on Friday, like they go out and win. They go out and have both teams in the title game. Like they back it up. So it's not a knock on the SEC. The point is like there was a machine behind them. There was a machine that like it helped that they won games, but it also helped that then when you watch the post game, all you heard and were beaten over the head with was how great what you just saw was and how great the players were and how much better they were than the other teams that you watch in all this. So I don't think the commissioner needs to be somebody who's going to try and like spew propaganda, but I think it would be great if somebody could kind of say like, hey, here's the Big 12. This is what's great about it. This is what you could, kind of market. This is what we can kind of profile. This is, and you're not going to be able to have the machine that ESPN was, of course not, but just some pride, and
maybe
some like, here's who we are, and here's what we're about, and this is why it's not much of a drop-off, and and I just...
But if ESPN is a part of the next broadcast rights, and they will be, you would think, in some particular way, if not in a big way, then make them want to promote you.
Right.
Maybe not put as much into it as you do the SEC, but there is really no Big 12 network. There really isn't like there is an SEC network.
It's been like a digital network.
You couldn't have one because of what Oklahoma and Texas have.
Well, you don't really need one. I mean, I don't know how many people would be tuning into the Big 12. I mean, maybe there would be an audience for it.
One of the reasons this show became somewhat popular was because a lot of different fan bases around the country who are Big 12 fan bases or wanted to be were searching for something to get information, some place to get information from. And we gave you some of that along the way. Not always enough, but at least we gave you some when you wanted it back in July, August, September of last year.
Right. I get that there's a Big 12 audience. I'm just saying I don't know how valuable a network would be. I don't know that you're going to get a ton of subscribers for West Virginia, Iowa State random competition on Sunday. Like, I just don't know if conference networks are really the end-all, be-all like they seemed to be about 5 years ago. Remember when everybody was rushing to get a conference network? 2 years later, do you hear anything about the Big 12 on a conference network?
Pac-12 almost wishes they didn't have one.
that's what I'm saying. Like, for the SEC, it works, but I know I'm mentioning them, but it's because they are the number one. But, I mean, this applies to the ACC. This applies to the Pac-12. This applies to any of the other conferences. Somebody's going to have pride in the Big 12 and be able to represent it on a national stage and not – feel like a lesser than in a room with, those who are talked about all the time. And I kind of do feel like that there is this imbalance going on that's never going to be balanced because the money's never going to be balanced. But just because you make more money doesn't mean I can't look you eye to eye, chin to chin. And that's what I want that new commissioner to be able to do, no matter if it's Greg Sankey, the president of the NCAA, or, the quarterback at Oklahoma State. I just want him to be a guy that walks in the room, commands respect, and people know that he's not going to back down.
In a couple of other chat rooms, Scotty B needs great leadership with great vision for the future, like that TV contract and how they can make that valuable even without Texas and Oklahoma, or as valuable as they could possibly be. Make more money. Make more money than they do right now. From Mike, we can't have them here when the new teams join, talking about the 4 new teams, Texas and Oklahoma, although that very much looks like it possibly could happen.
They've said there could be a crossover year. I mean, the way it stands right now, I wouldn't think so either. I mean, I just think that would be an awfully messy situation. Just, the mixture of teams. You'd have teams that have been here all along, teams that are just coming in, and teams trying to leave. That just seems like a wonky formula.
Rotating door, yeah.
But, I mean, as of right now, until Oklahoma and Texas declare some intentions of what exactly they're going to do, if they're going to do something before 2025, then that is what's going to happen.
One of the things Mike did mention, the SEC and ACC networks work because they're both owned by ESPN. If you have something that's owned by ESPN and they put money in it, and there are stockholders or there are reasons that they want it to be successful, you can say whatever you want about it. It doesn't hurt that they are the ones who run the ship at times.
And with a conference channel, like, that to me is just not a priority. That's why I'm just not really focusing in on that. It just doesn't seem like the list of the biggest things to do, quite frankly, or something that's going to be a big moneymaker for you. So I would much rather them go out and search streaming and whatever else is possible out there. And if there's some network talks that happen that could make some sense, like cool, but I'm just saying like that wouldn't be an overwhelming priority for me if I was a new commissioner, was like getting a conference network. I think that's maybe even going to the wayside a little bit.
Paul said our commissioner could be a Herb.
Yeah,
that is absolutely. Baylor President Linda Livingstone. Dr. Livingstone's name has been mentioned by media outlets. And, in fact, I've had some conversations. Jason Cook, who runs the media information. Right now, most of anything being said, and we take a break here and come back with Matt Baker from the Tampa Times on USF, and some of the things they're trying to do to be seen and heard as possibilities of whatever next line of realignment there might be. But Dr. Livingstone, right now the Texas Tech president, is the one who is the voice at this time with the Big 12. One thing about when you walk in the room, there's no question, even if he made mistakes or things that people never will forgive him for, Bob Bowlesby, by doing the cease and desist and also by adding those 4 teams as quickly as they did, all of them make sense. Maybe you could argue against 1 or 2 if you want. He gained tremendous credibility by doing that because a lot of people thought at the time that everything was about to go straight belly up. When we come back, Matt Baker on USF, the Bulls in football, facility upgrades, their future, and much more. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Cars priced right both day and night. Average your car in Texas. Trucks built for you, red, white, and blue. Average your car in Texas. Cars that zoom with lots of room. Average your car in Texas. Count on us, a dealer to trust. Average your car in Waco, Texas.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T is board-certified physician consultations, will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today, just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway. Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links, and you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from select, choice, or prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strips, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube.
Matt Baker, Tampa Bay Times. I kind of caught my attention over, I guess it was late last week, college football reporter for the Tampa Times, Gators, Florida State, USF, and much more. Matt, thanks for your time with David Smoak and Craig Smoak as well on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. So you were working on some project. Was it about facilities or football stadium on campus? What was that about?
Yeah, so thanks for having me. So USF here in Tampa is pushing for an on-campus football stadium. So right now they play their games about 20, 25 minutes away at Raymond James Stadium where the Bucks play. And this is an issue that's been going on for years. They've been talking about, do we need an on-campus stadium? How much would it cost? Where would we build it? All that sort of thing. And in September, right around the time, coincidentally, of course, that UCF was announcing that they were going to the Big 12, that whole thing was coming. USF here in Tampa made an announcement that the Board of Trustees said, we're going to build an on-campus stadium. And I think that took a lot of people by surprise. And now they're trying to kind of figure out where would it go, how much would it cost, and all the details. And what I wanted to do was to take a look back and see, okay, what are some of the schools that have made the move recently from it playing off campus somewhere to an on-campus stadium, and what did that do for them? So I looked at the 7 most recent schools that did that, including Baylor, by the way, to try and figure out what that might mean for the Bulls here in Tampa.
And what did you find has been sort of the reaction to the idea? Like, is this something where, sometimes there's projects and it's a project that maybe somebody has that they want personally or something. Is this actually something, though, that the fans are kind of clamoring for?
It depends on who you're talking to. I think most USF fans realize that the atmosphere will be better at an on-campus stadium, and honestly, I think the ceiling is going to be lower as long as they're playing off campus. There's a reason only a handful of schools in the country really do what USF is doing by playing off campus. You need community engagement, and by community I mean campus engagement. That's something that you need. That's something that the recruits want. And that's something that I think a lot of students want to make it a real part of the campus experience. So, but then again, the whole point, and I didn't get into this in the piece on TampaBay.com yet, but what's it going to cost, right? Like, if there's some donor who's going to pay $200 million to build a stadium, then it's a no-brainer. Yeah, of course, you do it. But on the other side, if you don't have a donor like that, and you're going to have either raise student fees or borrow $200 million or something like that, then it becomes a lot harder to stomach. So the devil's going to be in the details there. And I think a lot of USF fans are trying to figure out, okay, this all sounds great, but where's the money coming from? And until that happens, and that'll probably be in June at a Board of Trustees meeting, they're supposed to really start talking about the financials and how much, that sort of thing. So until that happens, I think a lot of people are kind of like, let's wait and see.
Matt, there's no question that there are some colleges, campuses that are located in major markets, but that major market does not support them. Does Tampa support USF?
That's a really good question. It doesn't lend itself to a clean yes or no. I think when USF was good in 2007 and they were relevant, I think there was a spark that showed that the city of Tampa and the Tampa Bay area can support a high-level college football team. The problem is that that's not where USF is right now. Right now, they're in a middle-of-the-road league in the American Athletic Conference. There's hope, of course, that they would join the Big 12 or maybe the ACC, depending on what all happens in the coming years. But right now, they're in the middle-of-the-road league, and they're not very good, and attendance reflects that. I think if USF becomes very good, which is possible, and especially if they get an on-campus stadium and things turn around, I think the city could absolutely support a team like that. But right now, they are arguably 5th or 6th in the sports scene here in the Tampa Bay area, behind obviously the 3 pro teams, the Bucks, Braves, and Lightning, behind the Gators, and I would argue behind Florida State as well. So right now it's a crowded market, and they haven't done enough on the field to deserve being higher than that in a stadium. 5,000 seats, 10,000 seats, 20,000 seats. I think it's a you can put lipstick on a pig with a new stadium, but if they don't play a better brand of football, recruiting better players, coaching them better, developing them better, it's not going to matter.
Matt, I definitely want to get into the coaching and just the record over the last couple years. But first, kind of staying on the same topic, what was the reaction, or what has been the continued reaction, if any, of just that massive shift once the Oklahoma and Texas news dropped, and then obviously the Big 12 went out and did what they did rather quickly? USF was not a part of this group, but could be, and it all, like you said, just depends on the changing landscape. But what was kind of the reaction that you gathered from USF folks when they saw UCF making that leap, Cincinnati, et cetera?
There was a whole lot of, there was definitely a level of disappointment among the administration, and among the fans, it was a major blow. I mean, let's be honest. USF had more or less blocked the Knights from joining. I think it was the Big East several years back, and that's a rivalry. And for UCF to go from the little brother to the point where USF can't even ride UCF's coattails to get into the Big 12, that was a major blow. And then when you look at what's happened to the American, I think they lose their best three programs in Houston, Cincinnati, and UCF. And then they're adding in, I think, the best programs that they could realistically in Charlotte and FAU and UNT and those guys, UTSA. But it's not the same. I think there's a level of concern in the fan base that the Bulls weren't drawing a ton of fans to begin with. And then you put them in, a better version of Conference USA. That's not a good thing long-term for them. So I think this is a critical junction over these next 5 to 10 years with USF. I have no idea what the landscape around the sport as a whole is going to look like in 2027, let alone 2032. But USF has to put themselves in a position to where, if the conference realignment dominoes fall again, and if there's a super league or what have you, that they can rise rather than fall, because I think the haves are going to get greater and the have-nots are going to get worse. So they need to put themselves in a position to try to get in the haves, or at least be in the upper middle class, and improve their stock from where they are now.
So USF had their spring game over the weekend. Obviously, they're trying to put themselves in a position to also be relevant on the football field. Where are they, in your opinion, after spring ended?
I think they've got a ways to go. I really do. They've got a promising quarterback in Timmy McClain, who showed, as a freshman last year, he showed flashes of being, a high-end quarterback, certainly at that level. But he also was a typical freshman and made freshman mistakes. If he can keep developing, they've got a quarterback. And as you guys know, if you got a quarterback in the sport, that's half the battle. But I don't think the depth is there across the board. I think they need more playmakers. I'm still kind of concerned about where they are on the line. And, the last couple of years, they have struggled. They have not done a good enough job under Coach Jeff Scott. And this is a pivotal third year for him to make things better, to show major steps. They got better in year 2 compared to year 1, but it's not good enough yet. The 2 wins is not good enough. So we're going to see whether they are able to take that step forward this fall, because as we sit here today, I have major concerns about them long term.
Yeah, though 3-18 through his first 2 years. Yeah. I mean, that's not going to cut it. And even then, Matt, towards the end, Charlie Strong, had a couple of 10-plus win seasons, but even his last couple of years, you started to see that kind of trickle down. Has this just been kind of a long, extended process in some ways?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I don't think Charlie recruited at a high enough level to where USF needed to in order to, and that's part of the reason why Jeff Scott struggled in terms of what he inherited. He's had a couple years now to fix that, and he's recruited at, I think, at a decent level. There's been some definite hits in recruiting, and he's done with the portal what I think he needs to do. By that I mean he's gotten a lot of guys who are Florida natives, particularly from the Tampa Bay area, who went to other schools. Gordon, a linebacker from here in Plant City, went to Minnesota, didn't work out, comes back to Tampa to play at USF. Joe, a receiver, played at high school ball in Clearwater, went to Clemson, didn't work out, comes to USF. So if he's able to hit on some of those guys who had a high ceiling, which is why they were wanted by Power 5 schools, didn't work out there. If he can make those guys into playmakers, kind of like what the model SMU, I think, has done to some degree, then there's hope for the future. But you're still counting on a lot of transfers, and they're a 50-50 proposition.
Hey, Matt, we're going to hopefully be in touch again soon when we have more time as well and touch in on Florida State, UF, Florida, the Gators, and much more. Appreciate your time. And I can't wait to look at the rest of the project you have on campuses, on football stadiums on campus, because there's no question it has given Baylor and Waco a boom with what they've done with McLean Stadium, about to build that new basketball pavilion as well.
Yeah, Baylor definitely benefited, and a lot of the other schools did too. It's just, is it worth the cost? And that's something USF is going to have to figure out. Thanks for the time, guys. Appreciate it.
Matt Baker, Tampa Bay Times, covers USF, also covers professional sports in Tampa, but the college teams as well around the area.
Yeah, they're kind of at a weird crossroads there at USF right now. You know, between the stadium questions, which, you know, I mean, he put out some good reasons, you know, why it makes sense, but there's that money tag. You know, I'd love to drive a sports car, but can I make that money worth it? No, not right now. I can't do that, you know. So you'd love to have the stadium, but is the money, you know, can you make it work? Well, it doesn't sound like right now they can, but obviously they're trying to find ways. I know they got like a $5 million donation the other day, but clearly that's going to, you know, be a drop in the bucket, but it's better than nothing. But they'll need a few more of those. But yeah, just in terms of that's one thing, and that's not make or break, but just the results. I mean, it's been going down now for like 4 years from when they were winning back-to-back 10-plus win seasons, and then, you know, Charlie's last couple years started to drop, and then these last two in particular with Jeff Scott, I mean, 3-18. Even if you want to eliminate the COVID year, that's still 2-10 last year, so they got a lot of work to do, no doubt about it.
Well, and they're also watching, as he even admitted, and they don't like to mention UCF when you're a USF fan or around the area. They're watching what they're a part of.
Sure.
They're watching what Miami and Florida State are doing as they try to have a resurgence as well. When we come back, Ross Dellinger, SI.com. He covered the Masters over the weekend, his thoughts about Scotty Scheffler, his thoughts about Tiger in the weekend, and his weekend there as well. Sikkim, 365 Radio and 365 Sports. IdealMRI.com can help you save a lot of money, a bunch of money. How can they do that? Well, one, you have to contact them or get your doctor if he wants to, whether he or she want a better look at a muscle, ligament, or something that's causing pain and really hurting you and creating issues where you can't sleep or function during the day. If your doctor mentions an MRI, they know about Ideal MRI in Waco in the Central Texas marketplace. $497 or less every single time, never more than that, and they'll also help you offset whatever they can when it comes to filing insurance as well. The average MRI is $1,100, so you can do the math. You could have almost two and a half MRIs and still be about where it costs for a lot of places on average to do one. And you find out what's wrong. Yes, all MRIs can do that. This is a state-of-the-art MRI machine. I've been in it. It is fantastic, and the customer service is incredible. No long lines, no big room with all sorts of waiting. It is IdealMRI.com.
1, 2.
I'm in love with a man named Rudy. I'm okay with that. He knows exactly what I want. He keeps me coming back. He cooks breakfast, lunch, and dinner for me. Does the dishes too. I'm in love with a man named Rudy. Last name Barbecue. It sure is easy to fall in love with Rudy's tasty oak smoked barbecue.
Next in line.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
When we moved to Texas, we were like fish out of water. We didn't know anyone in our neighborhood until our Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent came to the house. She was so helpful and reassuring, a friendly face with that Texan hospitality I'd heard about. When we purchased a Texas Farm Bureau insurance policy, we knew we were making the right choice. We knew our family would be protected.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Jet motion they go with here with Baldwin. And Baldwin breaks free. And the Bears sick 'em. Monterey Baldwin.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now, here's David Smoak and Craig Smoak.
Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. Thanks to Matt Baker, Tampa Bay Times on USF, the possibility of an on-campus stadium and moving forward as well. We will also check in with Auburn today and Pittsburgh today, and also hear from North Texas defensive coordinator Phil Bennett today at 5 o'clock. Ross Dellinger, SI.com. What a weekend he had. He joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio, and we've had Ross on numerous times before. Ross, I'm not sure, was that your first ever trip to Augusta National, or you'd been there before?
I had been there once before as a fan. Back in 2018, I won the fan lottery and got to buy one-day tickets, basically. So I went to Thursday's round. But that was the first time I'd been all week and first time to cover it. And so it was kind of a first-time experience.
You wrote a story, and we all get old, we all get tired, we get beaten and broken, we hurt, and eventually we quit. Our lives, our jobs, our sport. Tiger Woods is all of those old, tired, beaten, broken, hurt, except the last. You spent a day, and I'm a huge Tiger Woods fan, and apparently that's something that you truly enjoyed, and then watching him grind through all of that pain when he did not play very well as well.
Yeah, like a lot of people, I grew up, my kind of formative years as a junior golfer, junior high, high school, were his best years as a pro, late 90s, early 2000s, and grew up idolizing Tiger Woods, wanting to be like Tiger Woods. So it was pretty cool to follow him during Saturday's third round. And, as I wrote in that column, it was kind of sad too. He was clearly hurting. He was in a lot of pain. I guess you could say self-inflicted, right? He, was going speeding and got into a car accident that he probably is lucky to have survived. But it's just the fact that he came out in 14 months after reconstructive leg surgery was on an extremely hilly and difficult golf course for 4 days. And he didn't play very well over the weekend. I'm sure at that point it was pretty obvious again on Saturday. And it was cold Saturday, too. It was windy. You could see he was hobbled and he was limping, using his golf club as a cane. It was kind of sad to watch it all. And it just, it was kind of surreal as well. And I think everybody that was in the crowd really appreciated that he was there, that he was grinding through it and, putting on kind of, in a way, putting on a show for all of us. I think as a competitor, a freakish competitor like he is, like all great athletes are, he did it because of that competitive fire. But we were kind of the beneficiaries of it. We were right there, and it was pretty cool to see and follow him around.
Ross, the crowds, the patrons, as they call that at Augusta, as they call them at Augusta National. You've been there before. I was there. I went 6 consecutive years, and it's amazing how the flow of the crowd, the roars, the echoes of something happening around Amen Corner. Was that following him? How hard was that to get close enough to know what was going on, to see what was going on?
Yeah, I stand at 6'3", and it was very difficult to see. Even being that tall, very, very difficult at times. There were 15 deep rows of people on the greens, and so it was tough. I mostly followed him during a round in which he, like we talked about, played fairly poorly. So there wasn't a ton to roar about, so there weren't that many roars. But I will say that there were plenty of applause and standing ovations. Pretty much every green that he walked up to or hobbled up to, there was a standing ovation, and it was cool to see. It was a really a sign of appreciation by the crowd and by one of the better galleries in all of golf at the Masters. It was a cool thing, and you just felt the appreciation kind of flow out of the crowd. Like, thank you for being here. Thank you for battling back from this awful situation and injury, and walking this course. I mean, if you are and David, I know you've been to the Masters. Like, it's one thing you can't see on TV is the undulation and the hills and just the geography in general, the typography of the course. It's incredibly hilly. I mean, some of the hills could absolutely double as ski slopes. It's just incredibly steep, and he's so healthy. Walking up them is a tough thing, and he wasn't healthy at all. And so I think there was an appreciation from the gallery in that.
The 7th hole, which of course we know all the ones that get the attention, but there's some holes on that course that do not get as much attention. There is like a 27-foot difference from when somebody hits a shot in the fairway to getting up on the green over what someone would say, and they would get kicked out of Augusta National, were like 10 elephants buried in the front of that green or around that green as well. So I understand exactly what you're saying. The climb to get up 18 alone, or the one to get up 9, or the climb anywhere is truly, truly phenomenal as well. You also get hot college football teams or other sports that you cover. How hot is Scotty Scheffler right now with what he's doing, and how he, even though a little bit of a wobble early in the round, but just dominates Augusta National?
Yeah, it was. He's obviously had an incredible run. Winning 4 of his last 6 starts is just awesome. And something, we were a bunch of golf writers were talking about, where does this run of his stack up? The last, whatever it is, last 6 or 7 months, 4 and 6 starts. They brought up, of course, they brought up Tiger. I think when he won 6 straight starts at some point, Tiger did, and it's probably the best run since that run. And we've had a lot of young players like him come along over the last 10 years or so, and everybody's kind of looking for the next Tiger. And Rory McIlroy, Jordan Spieth, Dustin Johnson, everybody pointed at these years ago mid-20-year-olds like, is he the next one? Is he going to be the next one? And Scotty's right now kind of that next guy. Is he going to be the next one, sort of thing? And golf is so fickle. Who knows? You really don't know. But the run he's on has been incredible. I followed him around the front 9 in the final round. I was right behind him when he made the chip shot on number 3. But I go back to Saturday, actually. His second shot on 18, he hooked the tee shot into the trees. Had to take a penalty drop and had to clear a bunker, balls below his feet. He's hitting out of the straw. He had to clear a greenside bunker by 225 yards, and he cleared it by about 5 yards, and just a magnificent shot right at the pin, and then just chipped it up and one putted. To me, that was the shot of the tournament. Just incredible.
Yeah, I tell you what impressed me the most. The shot will always be someone you think about, but the composure during that search for his ball, getting down underneath all of the magnolias and everything else and the leaves. You got to be careful with the ball. It doesn't move. You got to make sure it's yours. And he kept kind of back and forth with the rules person on 18. Well, pine straw's a leaf, isn't it? That kind of stuff. I just thought he was the composure for a young man in that situation. It could have been a double or triple bogey was phenomenal.
Yeah, and that's one thing he certainly has, and he certainly has shown. It is a poise under pressure. He's a pretty humble kid. He's pretty quiet. Man, he does. He stays really poised, and that was a huge moment in the golf tournament. It felt like he was staring right at a double bogey, maybe even a triple bogey. It really did. And gosh, to come in and just bogey it was awesome. And as you said, he was poised that whole time. It just didn't look like he was really rattled at all. Now you could have said he got a little rattled on the tee, maybe, and he duck hooked that tee shot pretty good. That's something we hadn't really seen a lot from him. So maybe he was thinking about it. Maybe the pressure got to him a little bit. And he hooked his tee shot a couple times on Sunday. So clearly, if you know a lot about golf, when players get into pressure, they tend to hook their tee shots. But he had such a big lead, and it didn't matter on Sunday. Down the back 9, he could kind of, in a way, hook it all he wanted to. He had such a huge cushion at Smith triple. He's maybe he's the next big thing. We'll have to keep watching. He certainly had an incredible week.
Yeah, because Spieth obviously had that great jump start, and then, of course, he's kind of calmed down a little bit, and others, and we'll see what DeChambeau does with the injury and coming back from that. Ross, a college football question, with Bob Bowlesby and the Big 12, the commissioner moving on. Eventually they'll find a successor. We've seen some of the names. We had Mack Rhodes on last Tuesday, and we even asked him if he had ever been interested in being a commissioner, and there was some of that, but he's got a new contract with Baylor. Your thoughts about the transition and what they must get with that next commissioner of the Big 12?
Well, I think, I think they are gunning for more of an AD type, more of someone like Mack Rhodes. I don't know, as you mentioned, Mack with the new contract and the timing of that contract probably tells you that, he's pretty comfortable at Baylor for the time being. And won't necessarily be a candidate. But he's certainly someone that, when you call around, in the industry, people will tell you that he's among those lists of half a dozen or so names of ADs you could see eventually elevating to a commissioner role. But I think they are going to. It feels like they're going to go after an AD type, not go the route of the Pac-12 or the Big 10, where they went outside of college sports to get their commissioners. The Big 12 seems like it's more focused on somebody in the college athletics world, and it's a big spot. They're expanding. They'll have the new teams coming in. They'll have Texas and Oklahoma leaving, and that whole dynamic. And then the new TV deal, right? The contract is up in, I think, 2 years, right? So they'll have a new TV deal media rights deal to negotiate. So, and then maybe another expansion. It's been rumored for a while now that they will expand again. So a lot's going on, and you got some good big names out there, that I think would do a good job.
Ross, thanks for your time, man. We appreciate it. Glad you enjoyed that weekend and watching someone that the millions and millions of people, some of the Google Earth or whatever those images I saw on Twitter from one of the accounts was amazing. Watching the crowds and the patrons, so to speak, as they followed him around the course Thursday through Sunday, and you are a part of that. Thanks for your time.
Yep, no problem. Thank you.
Ross Dellinger, again, SI.com, covers college football quite a bit, but also was at Augusta National for the Masters in covering Tiger. Again, we all get old. We all get tired. We get beaten and broken. We hurt. And eventually we quit our lives, our jobs, our sport. Tiger Woods is all of those, old, tired, beaten, broken, hurt, except the last. He did not quit and finished all 4 rounds. And there are some that laugh because he fell apart at the end because you just can't stand the guy. And there's some people like that. I get that, just like people don't like certain football teams. But I think what he's done the last 2 or 3 years has actually, I can't even explain in how much it's created people who maybe did not respect him for whatever reasons, personal or otherwise, just didn't like him. He won too much. And now a lot of those have changed their mind because of what he's overcome. And yes, some of those self-inflicted issues himself. When we come back, Cole Kublik, he covers Auburn. He'll join us next as they wrap up their spring. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
Did you know that Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness is a partner of the City of Waco? Did you know that we are open to the public? Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers day passes to the public for only $10 a day, and we offer money-saving memberships. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers over 40 group exercise classes each week, including bar, yoga, boot camp, indoor cycling, and more. There are free weights, weight machines, TRX, rowing machines, stationary bikes, new treadmills, elliptical machines, and much more on the spacious weight room floor. Personal training available where you can be encouraged to grow. Sauna, whirlpool, tanning bed and kids club, 17 tennis courts, 8 pickleball courts, youth and adult tennis and pickleball lessons. Waco's premier experience where you can help your mind, body, and soul. Visit our website at wacotennis.com. Call us at 254-753-7675 or visit us next to Hawaiian Falls on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air Drive. It's a staple of the Waco economy. And you're about to approach this time of the year where you have the holidays, special gifts. It's not that you don't have that every single day. What are some of the things you have coming up?
You know, we kind of call ourselves the wedding ring store. We do all of our own custom work in-house. I've got 2 expert jewelers on staff every day. We can make anything from scratch. We kind of pride ourselves, probably 9 out of 10 every engagement ring we do is actually made custom to what the customer wants.
People look at that, oh my God, I can't afford it. I can't afford something like that. You've shown me examples that you could fit pretty much any budget.
It doesn't cost any more to custom make something. You still have gold, you still have diamonds, and you still have labor. Best thing about a custom piece is if you have any old jewelry or heirloom jewelry or something passed down from a grandma or somebody, we can take that jewelry and use it towards your wedding ring for the sentimental value, and then you've got the product, and then it's just a little bit of labor and a little bit of design on your
chaos at Auburn, and he was there, and Cole came on with us with some greatness, truth, serum, also transparency. Cole, thanks for your time as well. We appreciate it. So what did Auburn need to accomplish, in your opinion, and what did they accomplish with their spring drills and game?
Well, I think you got a pretty good idea about how some of the depth is going to look. There are obviously some position battles that are happening down there on the plains, quarterback being maybe the biggest one. And you didn't have Zach Calzada, who was really going during the spring. He's been involved with a few things that they've done, competed in some drills, but he's not full go. So he's been held out of scrimmages and things like that, which has given TJ Finley, I think, a huge advantage to be able to make a move, maybe be able to take that position. Now, the battle will still go up to the first game, maybe even through the first 2 games, because you get 2 games before you play Penn State. And I think Robbie Ashford, also a quarterback, the Oregon transfer, who's a big, physical, fast young man, he kind of showed that he'll be utilized. I think there will be a role for Robbie Ashford. I think that he'll help this football team one way or the other. And I don't know if he can win the starting job, but I absolutely believe that he'll be somebody that helps that Auburn football team. And you had 3-4 offensive linemen that were out, so some of those guys get to roll in, get to show what they can do. And you saw pretty good depth from tight end, running back, and defensive line. So I think you got to see some of the guys in action, like Landon King. He moved out to wide receiver. He was a tight end last year. He'll be a bigger body that can help him on the perimeter. So just seeing some guys in different places and seeing how some of the depth is playing out.
Cole, you mentioned the wide receivers briefly there. Would you say that's the biggest question mark offensively outside of the quarterback spot, and who ends up taking that?
Probably. And it's close with the offensive line. You know, because that offensive line hadn't played well in the last couple of years. But, you know, you've got Nick Brahms back at center. You'll have Austin Troxell back, who's played some tackle. Brandon Council is not going through spring. You know, he's a guy that played pretty good football the last 2 years. He's had surgery. But Jaleel Irvin did some good things. Cam Stutz did some good things. So, you know, Killian Zaire's had a nice spring at tackle. So at least you'll have some bodies there, some capable bodies. And I think you have a really nice group of tight ends that can help them. So it comes down to wide receiver, because let's be honest, if you're not going to have, even if you do have Bryce Young, I mean, you still have to have guys that can get you out of jams at time. You're going to need to throw a hitch and a guy take it for 20, 30 yards. You're going to need to throw a bubble screen and a guy take it for 80. And we just haven't seen a lot of the guys on this roster be able to do that. I think Shed Jackson's had a good spring. I think Tavares Dawson could be a guy that really helps them. I think Javaris Johnson not going through spring again. I think he could really help. Malcolm Johnson's a guy that has big time speed, but he just hadn't been a collegiate receiver very long. So, you know, Malcolm Johnson's a guy that he didn't go through his senior year of high school football because of COVID. You know, enrolls early down at Auburn, not going to get much of a look right away. So he's just kind of still trying to work his way into the lineup. But I think wide receiver is the biggest question mark, because if you get good play there, I think you could be, if you get 2 or 3 wide receivers that have B-plus seasons, I think you could be looking at the difference between maybe 6 or 8 wins for Auburn.
You know, when we discuss spring drills, or even August before fall camp ends and the season starts. We used to discuss positions, talent, whatever, depth, etc. And now we have to bring up NIL. How is Auburn right now, Cole, when it comes to keeping up with everyone else when it comes to NIL?
I think they're working towards being competitive. I don't think that there are a ton of teams that they're necessarily past right now. I think you have Texas A&M, you have Kentucky, and maybe there's a few other that are knocking on the door towards the top of the SEC. And I think there's kind of a logjam of teams that are just kind of trying to catch up that aren't necessarily ahead of the curve. Now, some people will sit there and say, well, I'll look at Alabama, look at some of their deals, they're ahead of the curve. But I think that's just more of the individual play. Like Bryce Young's not getting deals because of Alabama's collective, their NIL collective. Bryce Young's getting NIL deals because he plays quarterback at Alabama, and he's good, and he's a high-profile recruit, and now he'll get more because he just won the Heisman. So I think even Alabama is a little bit behind maybe Georgia, A&M, and Kentucky. So I think Auburn's getting there, though. The collective is in place, and they're trying to work together to get more people involved in that, and trying to work just exactly what the details on it are going to be. But, there are some really nice examples of athletes who have done some things on their own. I think the gymnastics team's a really good example of that. And it's not just Suni Lee. There are a couple of other athletes that have good NIL deals in place. So I think there are a lot of people that care about Auburn. There's a lot of reason to market athletes from Auburn. So there have been some good deals that have happened kind of on their own, I guess organically. But that's not going to get it done and keep you competitive in today's college football or college basketball. So I think they're heading in the right direction, but not necessarily where they need to be just yet.
Cole, obviously, when we talked to you last time, the big topic was what was going on with Brian Harsin. That settled down shortly afterwards, and they kind of just kept going about their business. But, in terms of the fire or whatever you want to call it that was, are all the ashes stamped out? Is that all, cooled down now? Is there still some embers that they got to worry about?
Well, I think Brian Harsin wants everybody to know that he's moving on. He's doing his job, and everything is status quo for him. But I also think he wants people to understand, how far this put them behind in certain aspects, and that is just confidence within the roster, recruiting, things of that nature. But I've seen this be a little bit of a rallying point for the team through the spring. I think they've come together. I think that the leadership with some of the older players have taken the understanding that, listen, we got to do this on our own. Let's come together. Let's use this as a sort of a rallying cry. And I think there's been more positive vibes through spring practice than most people would realize. He's gone out of his way to make some of the drills and practice a little bit more fun, a little more competitive, things they probably wouldn't normally do. And I think that's gotten people feeling better about themselves. And then, the recruiting's been great in the last month and a half. I think Jimmy Brumbaugh and Ike Hilliard have had a lot to do with that being added to that staff. But, Trevon Reed's the guy that helps them off the field. The recruiting has been totally different in the last month as opposed to what it was maybe the 2 or 3 months prior. So things are headed in the right direction. And I think that a lot of people are trying to put that behind them. It's going to be a cloud that's going to be very difficult to overcome because let's be real, it got in the way of recruiting. And a lot of fans saw it and immediately thought, well, here we go again. It's dead man walking. Why should we put our resources, energy, or thought into this thing really turning itself around? And I think Brian Harsin knows the only thing he can do now is win games. They go out and win 8, maybe 9 or 10, and that's a giant middle finger to those individuals that wanted him out. And that's probably the only thing he's going to do to be able to save his job long term.
What did you learn about him and the way he, again, took so many darts, bullets, whatever you want, arrows, and just kind of stood up to it? And I know he still could have been fired or something could have happened, but what did you learn about Brian Harsin?
Just that he's a guy that's not easily going to back down, and he is focused, driven, determined, maybe more so than any of us thought. Because, when you're around him, you realize, I did the game Saturday, and I told him we're going to try to get him on camera a little bit, get him on the microphone a little bit. I did it from the field, and you're not going to get him too far away from ball. Like, I tried to get him to have some fun a little bit. He's just focused in on exactly what's happening, the coaching points, mistakes that were made, how they can correct them, things like that. So he's just, I've just learned that he probably trusts his scheme and his philosophy and his way of doing things more than I ever believed. and that he's pretty stubborn and pretty hard-headed and pretty determined to do things and get things right. And so I gained a lot of respect for him, to be honest with you. And I knew him a little bit before. I know him a lot better now, but definitely trust his direction as far as where he's taken the Auburn program, because there's not a lot of guys that would have stood for it. There's a lot of guys that would have crumbled with everything that was going around.
So, Cole, they got the quarterback competition ongoing. We talked about receivers and O-line. You know, obviously in college football these days, even when you break spring, your roster's not necessarily set because of the old transfer portal. Do you see them having any needs, or do you see them pursuing anybody in this offseason period to try and complete what maybe is missing right now?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's more so for depth. Now, would you like to go out and get a number one receiver like you guys were talking about? Sure, of course. Would you like to go get a tackle that could lock down one of those spots and you're not going to have to worry about pass protection from whichever side he's lined up on? Yes, definitely. Another defensive tackle that could really bolster the depth there, maybe come in and be a rotational guy, you would. I think tight end, running back, DB, quarterback, your numbers are fine. But along the offensive line, you could use more capable bodies. Along the defensive line, the two starters at the edge positions, Derek Hall and Iku Leota, I think are great. I don't know if they have anybody behind them. I don't know if they have a guy that's ready to step in after those guys and be anything close to what they are. I think Jason Jones, the Oregon transfer defensive tackle, is really going to help. I mean, he gives them a physical presence that they just did not have on the roster, but they don't have any more of him. You go down to Marquise Burks after that, and you lose a little bit of girth, and a guy that just doesn't kind of give you. Marcus Harris, another guy, the transfer from Kansas that's helping them. They don't give you that same body type. So would you like another guy or two inside that could add some depth and allow you to rotate your D-line? Of course you would. So I think there are a few spots, and they're going to keep looking. I definitely don't think that they're done in the portal. And as we all know, once spring football is over, we usually get just another wave into the portal, which, Georgia just had 2 5-stars go in there yesterday. So it's not like we have to wait till spring ball's over.
True.
That thing's open 24/7, man. So guys are going in all the time. And I definitely think that Auburn will be looking to see if there's somebody attractive there that they could add to their roster. Because I think they're in the high 70s right now, total scholarships. So they have plenty of room to go grab a few guys.
It's like a convenience store, the transfer portal. It's always open.
7-Eleven, man.
7-Eleven. Yep. Cole, you mentioned the quarterback competition and all of what they have. And one of the things that may have prevented that a little bit was Demetrius Davis, the young star from North Shore High School in Houston that was so amazing. What happened? I know he transferred. I know he's in the portal. I don't even know if anyone's picked him up. What happened there at Auburn?
No, and kind of a sidebar to that. That's a really weird deal, and you almost accidentally went down that path, so I'll just follow up. There's about 5 guys from last year's Auburn roster that are sitting across the street from the football facility in the dorm in the portal that have nowhere to go. And it just, to me, that's more of a 1,000-foot view at college football, and one of the issues that we kind of have right now is we got all these guys on these different campuses that are in the portal. They're not going through spring ball, so they're not developing. They're not getting any better. And I don't know what they're waiting for. And they're just sitting there for somebody to call them that they deem satisfactory. And this is not Demetrius. I'm not pointing the finger at him.
Right.
But, sitting there waiting, saying, well, I thought I had a Baylor offer. I thought Miami was going to call. I thought Texas was going to call me. I thought Michigan was coming. And all of a sudden they're trying to decide between FCS and Sun Belt and MAC teams, and they think they're better than that. So that's a little bit of an issue where we are right now, because Auburn's not the only places that I know have numerous guys that are sitting there on campus still in school, but they're not practicing because they're in the portal. And I'd be willing to bet a lot of them, the coaches don't even want them back. They're just sitting there saying, no, you went in, go find somewhere else. We're going to move on. And, Demetrius Davis to me was a guy that was a mega athlete, very explosive, super fast. He just had some issues processing things, making the proper decisions in a timely fashion. And also probably never really got a true chance to prove that he could be an every down quarterback. He was third string last year. Bo Nix was on the roster. TJ Finley was there. Now you get Calzada coming in. You get Robbie Ashford coming in. It was going to be very difficult for him to even get the amount of reps necessary to prove that he could potentially be the starting quarterback or maybe even the backup quarterback down the road. So I just think he's got to find a spot for him that has fewer numbers to compete with, where even if he is having a few struggles, there's a few things that he doesn't necessarily do as well as some other guys do. He's still going to have a good opportunity to make up for it with what he does do well. quarterback.
You want to give a plug real quick? I know you got to go, and we appreciate your time on Jeff Klein. I saw what you did with some kind of a fund trying to who's been in, I guess, in the hospital.
Yeah, you're referencing my former teammate that's having a hard time right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jeff Klein played quarterback with me, and he was 2 years behind me at Auburn, and he's been diagnosed with cancer. It's at stage 4. He is currently on life support. They've moved him down to Birmingham, so he's here in the same town that I'm in at UAB, which is a wonderful medical facility. Has 3 young boys under the age of 7, married to Adrian Coley, who also attended Auburn and is from here in the Birmingham area. And I mean, you just see how it's one reason that college athletics are so great. We're at $118,000 in his GoFundMe in less than 3 days. And, I can't even, it hits me a lot harder because I have 3 under 8, and each of his kids are about 6 months younger than my 3. And I keep playing that mental game with myself of, man, what if this was me? Man, what if this was me?
Yep.
This would be the same situation my wife was in. And it's just, it crushes me. So, try to pay a little tribute to him. He was supposed to go out there and compete in the flag football game with the other lettermen, and wasn't able to do that. And it's just, he's having a tough time right now. And it's one of those things that, 4 weeks ago, he went to the chiropractor with back pain. And then 2 weeks later, he admitted himself to the hospital. They did blood work. There was no sign of cancer. And then he went and had a scan, MRI, found lesions on his spine, and then had a scan and found more. And here we are just trying to still find the exact source of where the cancer is coming from, because it is metastatic, which means widespread. So, we need to start treating it and get to the bottom of it. And thankfully, people are working around the clock on it. But it is a difficult, frustrating situation. And I hate it for his wife and those young boys as much as I hate it for him, because he was just a heck of a guy, a heck of a competitor.
Thank you for your time, Cole, as always. Appreciate that. And also you fighting along with others for your friend as well in Jeff Klein. Cole Kublik, again, he did the spring game for Auburn, does many things when it comes to covering Auburn, also a part of the SEC network with us as they wrapped up their spring with the game, and also loved what he said about the transfer portal. Boy, that thing gets a lot of attention. And then you think about, where are these players who are in the transfer portal? As a lot of programs are wrapping up or have wrapped up their spring drills, and they're sitting, as he said, across the street in a dorm room waiting for who? Someone to call them? How many of them will maybe never play again or end up just a mess?
They'll play again. They just won't play at the level they've been playing at. Those dorm rooms are going to be a step down wherever they go next. I mean, that's an interesting picture to paint of just they're sitting there practicing and walk across the street and there's, quarterback and whoever else has already entered the portal just sitting there waiting on a phone call, but right across the street, there's those guys practicing. That'd be a weird feeling. And, unfortunate for them. I'm sure somebody, will offer Demetrius Davis a spot or whatever, with all of these guys. But, just sometimes you listen to the wrong advice. Sometimes you maybe think a little bit too much of yourself. Maybe others put that seed in your brain. I don't know. Like I can't pretend to have been in that type of a position to know what must be going through your head. But I know not a lot's intelligent going through some of these people's heads when it comes to this decision. I'm not saying Demetrius Davis in particular or whatever, but it's just that image of people just sitting in the portal, just wasting away, their playing time in their youth, even if, you catch on a little while later. I mean, still, that's just time wasted.
I agree.
So just part of the deal. I saw basketball. There's 1,000 people in the portal right now. I don't know where all those people are supposed to go. I really don't. But that's part of the what you created. We hear all about the success stories and those people that just dive right in. They go from Auburn to Ohio State, or they go from Ohio State to USC, or whatever the case may be. But those are the ones we hear about. We often don't hear too much about those others that put their name in there and then, nothing ever happens again. And then their careers go from D1 to D nothing. And that's unfortunate. So, yeah, got to be smart. Hopefully listening to the right type of advice. And, sometimes it's good. It's a needed correction. Some people don't need to be playing at the level that maybe they got to, and they need a little bit of a readjustment. But I don't think that's necessarily the case with, Demetrius Davis or probably most people that end up at Auburn. I think they're ready to play D1. But
Lando 7448 on the chat room. They didn't believe in him. D. Davis. He just had a kid back in Houston. Houston better go get D. Davis, Texas legend. He was a high school legend. I mean, threw the Hail Mary, beat Duncanville, won a couple in a row, and of course North Shore just won it with like a freshman at quarterback this past year. So thanks for the insight, Lando, on that. And what also I wonder,
Holgerson's going to get a quarterback going now. I mean, I'm looking forward to Clayton Tune. He's been progressing, and Davis. Yeah, that would be a smart landing spot if they were interested. Though that's the other thing, is these schools don't necessarily have to be interested. So who knows? I mean, that would make a lot of sense. Obviously, being close to home, like you said, but still, I remember him going in there and. I remember when Baylor recruited him a couple years back, and they were hot and heavy on him, but I guess they're satisfied with what they've got right now. So, yeah, we'll see.
What would be interesting is in Mac, maybe tomorrow with Mac Rhodes, and I'll ask Phil Bennett. We'll ask him earlier in about 15 minutes or so. When you are a player and you enter the transfer portal, what happens to what you get while you're a student athlete at a university? And you're on campus or you're in an apartment or a house across the street or somewhere in that same city of Opelika in Auburn, Alabama. And who's paying for things now? Where's that money coming from? Are you getting stipend money? Are you getting cost of living money? I don't know how that works. Are you still a student on campus but no longer in the football program? That's just some things that popped up in my head as he was talking about that 1,000-foot view of college football. All right, when we come back, a couple of notes. There's a Japanese pitcher that was about as flawless as you could possibly be, but I don't think won a game. We'll tell you about that in a second. But also Phil Bennett today at 5. We'll also check in with Pittsburgh's program at 5:50. But also David Hellman and the Cowboys. He'll join us at 5:30, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac, got a lot of great deals going on right now at Richard Carr, and they want to get you on that inbound vehicle list to make sure that you can get your vehicle as soon as possible. That's right, they're rolling new and pre-owned cars to the mix on a daily, weekly basis. But to get your car and truck as soon as possible, especially the brand new ones, you need to get on that inbound vehicle list. So you can do that by calling the dealership, telling them what you're looking for, telling them that you want to sign up. But even if you don't want to go that route, you're just kind of perusing, looking around, and hoping that something clicks. There are, like as I mentioned, new cars and trucks arriving each week at Richard Carr. If you need a car today, you want to save, consider one of their dozens of quality pre-owned cars and trucks. All of their pre-owned vehicles go through a 172-point inspection before hitting the lot. You can drive them with peace of mind. They pay top dollar on your trade, and there are dozens of lending options. They say yes to loans when others say no. And March, we are past and we're out of the month of March, but last month they were celebrating 23 years in Central Texas over at Richard Carr. In those 23 years, the motto has been people you can count on, whether it's their sales department, their award-winning collision center, service center. Richard Carr is the dealer you can count on for a great deal and superior service for the life of your car. I mentioned they're loaded with premium pre-owned cars and trucks, and they go through that 172-point inspection. Again, if you're looking to buy used, give them a call right now. They'll tell you about the Buick SUVs, the GMC SUVs and trucks, and all of their options that they have. But if you're looking to buy new and it's not on the lot, again, call them and get on that inbound vehicle list. Trust the good local people you can count on for 23 years in Central Texas. Proud Wacoans, proud Baylor Bears. Log on to richardcarr.com today. Call now or go see them now. Highway 6 off the Imperial exit.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include food, screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio with socially distanced seating for your enjoyment. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs and veggie burgers too. State Fair tornado fries, nachos, and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, family-owned and operated must-visit pizza place in Waco. Fantastic pizza by the slice or get the whole pie to share. Great happy hour specials every single day, and it's not just pizza. Great wings. You have to try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries, pizza pillows, and more. Dine in for a great hangout or carry-out. Order online at shortyspizzashack.com or do yourself a favor and bring your crew to the restaurant at 12th and Bagby. Shorty's Pizza Shack. Tell them Paul sent you by.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. Are you a Sikkim 365 superfan? Then try out our premium subscriptions at Sikkim365.com.
Tonight, the WNBA draft, Nalissa Smith of Baylor and Queen Egbo will be drafted. Nalissa Smith projected to go number 2 overall. And you look at her career, All-American, won so many different awards. I know this year's team, and the ending wasn't what they expected. No one expected that. But what I'll always remember about her, she never created drama, but she came in her freshman year in Tampa. Baylor won the national title. Lauren Cox went down with a massive knee injury, or what seemed like would be a career-threatening knee injury. And Nalissa Smith came in off the bench, and she had played a little bit anyway. She was good and hit a shot, scored a few points, and helped Baylor back down a rally by Notre Dame in Tampa to win the national title. She was an unbelievable player for Baylor as well. Now, I mentioned this. Roki Sasaki, 19 strikeouts through a perfect game Sunday in Japan's top league, the Nippon Professional Baseball League. It's the first perfect game in Japan since 1994. And he's 20 years old, struck out 13 consecutive batters at one point, a Japanese pro record. Features a fastball that tops 100 miles an hour. And he is 20 years old. 19 strikeouts. And you wonder at some point what Major League Baseball will look at because of what they've done with other great players out of the Japanese league. Ichiro, Otani, among others.
Yeah, I mean, good for him. Didn't see that, and that's quite the accomplishment. Japanese league's not easy peasy either. So, yeah, I mean, to be that young and to be accomplishing that in a pro setting is pretty impressive.
Now, I wasn't here Friday, so I'm not sure, but Jack, you went to the scrimmages, right? The Baylor volleyball team, and you were there when we were talking about showing up as a group and cheering on Faith and embarrassing the hell out of her when her name was introduced. You were there, correct?
Yep.
What was that like?
I mean, I could only hang around so long. I had to get over to baseball, but it was cool. It was kind of cool to see the Farrell Center transformed into volleyball-specific environment.
And then we have a picture of as well, do we not? In fact, of some of the teammates, Baylor. There is, where is Faith? Right
Number
there.
13.
Number 13. Having a good time. That's who Faith is. If you have never seen her, because we're really restrictive of anyone behind the scenes getting any attention. We mention everybody every day, but there needs to be a camera of behind the scenes. And there's Faith. Was that just everyone having a good time, introductions, introducing, hey, here's who is coming back, here are the new names and much more. So Faith Lynch, Baylor volleyball. Great to see you. What a beautiful smile. So happy. Good to have you again, Faith, Emery, and Jack today. Run the mothership. I just got a text from Armstrong.
She's turning red over there.
Can we get a camera on her?
I'll get the camera over here. No, that's okay. All right.
So I got a text from from Armstrong. He said, good night, Smokey. So he is in Spain, Jack. Is that correct? I still don't have any breaking news on.
Yeah, I don't.
I'm not going to give it up. I'm not going to say it. But wouldn't that have already gone down by now?
I thought it would have.
Craig, why are you shaking your head?
Because you're not saying anything, but you're saying something, so just get off the topic.
Well, I mean...
Jeez. I mean, like, because now nobody knows what we're talking about.
I know.
Like, nobody knows what we're talking about.
So, like,
but you got to understand, like, we know each other, and that's all great and everything, and, like, it's cool to introduce the audience to Faith, and so now they know her a little bit. But, like... personal conversations that happen behind the scenes aren't privy to the audience, so you like kind of just hinting at something, they have no idea what you're talking about. But the people who do and don't play with fire.
I'm going to stop it. That's it. We wish Armstrong the greatest trip ever.
Yes, we do. We wish him, and I hope he's not watching or listening or has an internet connection right now. So, yeah, we look forward to hearing from Armstrong again.
Especially if he's with somebody. Because they don't need to be watching this segment that we just had.
Well, it would have been fine, but again, let's just move on to something else.
Coming up next, Phil Bennett, defensive coordinator at the University of North Texas, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco. New specials every week. Bakery, butcher shop with what they have. The bakery full-time, all the time. Fresh baked bread and kolaches every day. And other treats and sweets that you enjoy. It could be anything as simple as a pop or something else that might be a sweet that would be made in a bakery. The butcher shop with beef, pork, poultry, and seafood. Saturday night, had a big bone-in ribeye. It was delicious. I get my bone-in ribeyes from Waco Custom Marketplace, and they cut them usually about 1.25 inches to 1.5 inches thick. It was absolutely delicious. If you want something custom made, you can get it. They'll cut your steak or whatever beef product you want the way you want it. And don't forget live crawfish, 30-pound sacks of live crawfish. Order by Wednesday at 6. Pick up anytime after Friday at 4 or on Saturday. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Payments for qualified buyers at 2.9% for 72 months with $5,000 down cash or trade. TTL Extra. See dealer for details.
Summer driving is coming. Save now at Richard Carr's Summer is Coming Savings Event. Find summer savings like a 2015 GMC Sierra 2500 HD for $318 a month, or 2020 Buick Encore for $288 a month, or get a 2015 Cadillac SRX for $212 a month. Our vehicles go through a 172-point inspection, and we pay top dollar for your trade. 100% approval is always our goal.
At Richard Carr, we give you more.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
You know what would make this moment better? Pizza. Dough made from scratch and an Italian family sauce recipe pizza. 3 fresh signature cheeses making a melty blanket of perfection pizza. Like loads of premium toppings like crispy Old World pepperoni, savory Italian sausage, and fresh sliced veggies pizza. That's Marco's Pizza. Visit marcos.com and make any moment better. And with 4 locations in Waco, Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and soon to open in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Offset with Smith in the backfield on 2nd and goal. And instead, they come around with the tight end. Ben Sims takes it in.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Tom Albers, staying in touch with you and your money through these difficult and changing times. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak and Craig Smoak.
Paul Catalina back tomorrow, and as much as we love talking college football with anybody, this is the one. Phil Bennett, defensive coordinator, North Texas, joins us where we get all of the problems solved. Coach, how you doing, man?
Well, I'm good. So I get the Smoke boys today, huh?
Yeah, you do. Golly, I should have told you that ahead of time. You would have probably said, "Well, wait till Paul gets back."
That.
No, okay. So
I like that.
Did you play golf today? Did you go out and hit it around, or what?
You know, I'm involved with the Boys and Girls Club here in Bryan College Station, and we had our fundraiser today. So this is a great story now, Smokey. These 4 guys I played with were all past club pros at Pebble Creek Country Club, like 2018, 19, 20, 21. I never hit the ball. I putted. I would watch them hit, and I would just laugh. I'd say, I'm not hitting.
Well, it's a great
day.
It
was pretty good.
Yeah, it's a great day to do that after the Masters wrapped up. Did you watch much of that? Did you have time?
I did. I thought it was, that Scheffler, Scotty's been on a hot streak. My goodness, what a 52 days he's had.
No question about it. We'll get into North Texas and what you saw, what Randy Clements on the offensive line, what that brings to the table as well, and Coach Luttrell. And so what did you need to accomplish on your side of the football, and what did you accomplish?
Well, the first thing, we needed to develop some depth. As much improvement that as we made last year, we didn't have the depth that we needed. And I thought we were able to get that. We had some guys. We have a linebacker, K.D. Davis, that's just a phenomenal player. Could play anywhere I've been. We let him go through like half the spring, and then we took him out. He had some things he wanted to get done health-wise. So that's the thing we look for to get. And we had a couple of guys that we'd brought in, junior college at one portal, one junior college. We wanted to get them acclimated, and I think that we did that. So, we got a lot of the guys back, David, and that's the good thing about it is we only had 8 seniors, and only 4 of them were starters. So we got a lot of experience back.
Coach, you guys won that opener. Had to be feeling pretty good about that, beat Northwestern State, and then you went on a pretty lengthy losing streak, 6 games. And you closed the year on a 5-game winning streak before then dropping the bowl game. So just very back and forth. But that middle of the season, after the losses were piling up, how are you guys able to kind of turn that corner? Was it the schedule easing up? Was it just buy-in? What was it?
Well, I think, first of all, we got in a bind at SMU. We lost all 3 of our starting receivers.
Yeah.
We had 550 yards offense in that game. And just, we lost 3 guys for the year. I thought our offensive staff did a really good job of reinventing themselves. And we played some pretty good teams. We played UAD early. We played Marshall early. And those were teams in that league that you had to have your A game. And obviously that we didn't. I thought the schedule got better, more manageable, but you got to win on the road. And then being able to beat a very good UTSA team the way we beat them was really good. I thought the bowl game was disappointing to me without a question because I thought we were ready to go out and finish the year right. And you got to give Miami credit. They loaded up the box on defense and made us throw the ball. We didn't do it. And then yet when we needed to stop them on defense to get our game back in, we weren't able to do it. So, but, like I said, to get back, I think that one of the biggest things I thought Seth never panicked and we stayed the course. And kids, we recreated ourselves of what kind of team we were. We quit huddling, no huddling, went to more of a huddle, and we became, I think we were top 10, 15 in the country in rushing the ball, which helped us defensively.
How much of that is complimentary football, and how nice is it to be a part of that?
Well, it was, we had been a tempo, and we moved the ball. Like I said, the SMU game going in the fourth quarter, I think the score was 14-12. And we matched everything they did, and we ended up losing those guys. But I think, David, it was sound coaching. We realized this is what we could do. And it's like Seth said later on, he goes, hey, this might be who we are. Because we've got 4 running backs that can really run the ball. I watched Baylor this year, and that's what they could do. My God, Jeff and them on offense become so good at keeping their defense off the field. It truly is complimentary football.
Coach, that UTSA game you were talking about there at the end of the year, obviously a massive win for you guys. And the only bad part about it is, like, we just didn't get to see, like, what would the committee do with an unbeaten team like UTSA? But you guys knocked them off and knocked them off convincingly. Just what was kind of the talk that week? And did you guys have a sense going into that one that you had a pretty good chance to do what you ended up doing?
Well, first of all, just like you, I'm dear friends with Jeff Traylor. I love Jeff. He's done a great job. And, you know, we knew, you know, the week before they had a hell of a game against USF. And, you know, I've done this a long time. We were backed up in a corner. You know, it was win or go home. And obviously we knew it. We had won in Florida. We came back home. And then they had their biggest win. It was a last-minute win, and you know, we thought, you know, a lot of times you forget this is a human, it's an emotional game that we needed to go out and get started early to get in the game, and very fortunate. You know, the other thing that happened, and it was, you know, they play indoors. That day, it was 60 degrees, raining, and it sort of fit our environment. We could run the ball. Not to say that they couldn't, because McCormick was a great back, but we just sort of had some things happen, and we were able to take advantage of it.
How much did that win, no matter how you ended the season, which was on a streak until the bowl game, how much did that win help you with recruiting?
Oh, it's catapulted us, and there's no doubt. Right now, and you mentioned Randy being here. Mike Blesh had played for Randy. We are really evaluating and getting some really good kids, you know, for our jump to the American Athletic Conference. And it was really a big win. And you know, like you were mentioning, I mean, UTSA, they beat a Big Ten school. They beat a Mountain West school. They beat an AA school in Memphis. I mean, their schedule, they had beaten some really good football teams. So it was a huge win for UNT.
Coach, now that you've been back at it a little while, I know that there were a lot of things you had to get, you know, acclimated to, like the transfer portal and all the things that go with that and NIL and stuff. But the transfer portal doesn't just take, it gives. And you kind of referred to it there. What has been your relationship with just kind of, you know, working that thing and seeing both the negatives and also the positives that come from it?
Well, you know, first of all, I don't know if y'all read what Dabo said the other day. It's true. I mean, it's chaotic right now. It's a mess, and it's a broken system. And anybody that says it's not is foolish, because it is. And if the NCAA doesn't get a hold of this, it's not going to be good for football. You know, and I think it's just right now. It's every day you have to re-recruit the kids that are on your campus. You know, we had a couple of kids, good players, good kids, that transferred, went to Power 5, and you know, you just have to wish them the best and say, you know, good luck to you. And then we've also had some kids that, you know, had calls from other schools, sort of, you know, illegal stuff that we've really had to defend ourselves and call people and say, hey, you better stop this. We're going to turn you in. So schools like us, mid-majors, could easily get cherry-picked on this thing.
Well, we had Colt Kublik. He played at Auburn, and he now covers the SEC in Auburn. We were asking him about some of the transfer portal. They had a quarterback that played at North Shore, Demetrius Davis, great player. Oh, yeah. And he's in the transfer portal. They've already wrapped up spring. He's not a part of that team. And he was talking about how weird it is across the street from the campus. There are guys in a dorm, football players, who are sitting there waiting for a phone call or thinking that they were going to get a phone call.
While the team practices across the street and goes about their business,
I mean, it's sickening.
That's a broken system. And, we're so, and I don't know, the NCAA or we've got to get this thing fixed or it's going to hurt the game of football, especially college football. I mean, it's just, it's the silliest thing I've ever seen. And you have so many kids and there's only so many scholarships. I mean, and everybody thinks they're going to get re-signed, but it's became painfully obviously they're not going to get re-signed. So, and I'm going to tell you something else that people have neglected to talk about. The high school coaches are furious because they know that it's affecting the recruiting of their school. We're not looking at as many high school kids because all coaches, whether you like it or not, you're one season away from being on the hot seat. So you think, boy, if I can go get a kid from Ohio State or Texas or somewhere else that's in the portal, that you're gonna get a quicker fix, which maybe is not always the case. But I've had so many high school coaches call me and said, Phil, our kids aren't getting looked at, and that's an issue.
Coach, I know football is football at the end of the day, and you weren't out of the game nor just completely separated from it even when you weren't coaching, but was there any kind of just, new adjustments as far as the game itself, the style teams are playing, anything like that for you?
Well, Craig, not really.
Yeah.
I tell you, the Conference USA, that the teams we play this year, they were, and our schedule was a fun schedule. But, UAB is a power team. Marshall was all back and forth. SMU with their new quarterback for the kid from Midway. There were some good things in there. We saw power. We saw spread. We pretty much saw everything, and even a little option. I really like what Jeff and them are doing at UTSA with their quarterback. But the thing I love about what Jeff's doing, he'll spread the field, but he's still going to be a physically tough team. And their running back was a special player.
Yeah.
And they had good receivers, good tight ends. But, it was pretty much what I left. Now, not as many teams, I look at the Big 12. I was talking to a friend of mine that's now at Baylor, and it's not as much spread. You remember back in the day when every week it was spread from sideline to sideline. No, it was pretty much what I thought.
What is more confusing, the transfer portal or knowing what conference you're in?
You know what? How about that? I think, like I said, it's got to calm down. I mean, we had a schedule. Now, think about this. The Conference USA put a schedule out. Hell, we were playing Southern Miss. We were playing Marshall. And they're calling back saying, we're not playing you. We're not coming. So, Shane Elder is our assistant athletic director in charge of football. He said, hell, I'm spending my time projecting where we might be, what hotel, this, that. I mean, and then finally they got it settled. So, let me say this about the portal too. The portal, as you said, it works both ways. You have kids, somebody was telling me that they met with their kids after spring, that early spring. They told them, hey, you might want to go, to a lower level. You probably aren't going to play here. And so he said he had 4 or 5 guys do that. But as you said, I think it probably takes more than it gives, though.
Yeah, and it seemed like we see the big names, like Craig was mentioning this earlier. You might have a kid go from Ohio State to Clemson or from Clemson to Georgia or whatever. But there are so many that are just they're just lost. And now they're the ones that made the decision. Now I'm sure they had somebody in their ear or somebody lied to them or whatever. But it's I know we keep going back to that, but it does seem to be kind of
and here's the other thing, and you and I both know, the days of just sticking it out. We're instant gratification. We want it now. If there's something we don't like, we'll leave.
Yep.
That bothers me a little bit. You just and you and I both know. We're older, Dave and Craig. You know that you've watched it. There's something to sticking with the plan, ups and downs, and then finally making it. When I played at A&M, I came in, I was the 18 middle linebacker. I told my mother, Dad, I said, hell, I'm never going to play it. This is back when, hell, we had 75 scholarships. It was back in the meat on the hoof days that they wrote about at Texas. And lo and behold, I'll never forget my dad telling me, he goes, you got to stick it out. He said, things have a way if you keep working. And it did. I wasn't a sophomore starter. I played, but I ended up being a 2-year starter, all-conference player, and I really didn't know if I was ever going to play. And I just don't see that happen near as much as it used to. And I've had guys who do that, but, I remember at Baylor, we had guys come through that maybe didn't play their freshman, sophomore year, and then all of a sudden they matured, and it's fun to see guys like that make it.
Well, isn't that what it's not what it all is about, but I mean, isn't that about teaching about life's lessons and yeah.
I tell people, football is the most unique sport there is because I've played them all. It's fun to practice baseball. It's fun to practice basketball, all the different things. Football, 100 degrees, knocking heads every play, especially offensive, defensive line. I mean, you better have the right attitude and you better have a passion for it because to go out there every day and do that, and work 320 days a year to play 11, 12, 13, maybe 14 games at the most, that's a commitment. And I think it builds so many things that when you get out of football, that you sit there and say, you know what, I'm not afraid to take some time knowing that that I can get this done. I think everything that life's about, football has a way of teaching you. I believe that.
Coach, I guess it was about 2 weeks ago now, Baylor had their pro days, pretty star-studded, a good number of guys there. And I know that you go back with, Jalen Petrie and Terrell Bernard. Those guys are now getting ready for pro careers. But could you have ever imagined Jalen Petrie being talked about as a first-round NFL draft pick? I mean, that's not a guarantee, but that's some of the scuttlebutt right now. And if anything, he's going to go, pretty quickly in the second, I would think. But is that any surprise to you?
Oh, it's you know what? It just tickles me. I just think I have so many memories of going in there. Nobody, everybody said they're glad he stayed. Well, he didn't have an option. He couldn't go anywhere else. And I'm not saying that being because he is the most awesome kid. And we went down there. Art saw him, said, Phil, go look at. I said, it's a no-brainer. He could play. And Riley Tejada did a great job. It's just funny after all these years that we still have some ties. I'm coaching Riley's little brother, Ridge, at North Texas. It's just, I remember Bernard, Jim and I went to see him that day. He was in spring practice. He was like 195. Jim said, well, he's not very big. We watched practice. Jim said, about halfway through practice, looked at me and goes, my God, is he a player? And just, and I think their future is just outstanding. And, Jalen is I had a friend that is in the business in the NFL call me, and I said, hey, he's everything you want. I'll be shocked if he's not a first round. Somebody that wants a safety type guy. He could play safety. He could play nickel. He has cover skills, and his intelligence is off the charts. So it's just fun.
Does he remind you, without comparing, because you hate to compare it, does he remind you anyway of the Honey Badger at LSU, Tyrann Mathieu, who's been at Kansas City?
No doubt. And the thing that he does, he plays with his head. I loved watching him, and Dave and Ron did a great job of using him, and he is so smart. Think about this, David. He can blitz. He can cover. He's an excellent tackler, both in the box and out of the box. And he has the ability in his coverage scheme. He baits quarterbacks. He is what the NFL is looking for.
Phil Bennett, defensive coordinator at North Texas, with us on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. So, Randy Clements, we mentioned him. As good an offensive line coach as there is in America. Always know what he's done wherever he's been. And I know he had been kind of maybe, surveying the landscape, so to speak, last season. What's it like to have him on staff?
First of all, he's one of my best friends, and he has upgraded us so much. And I say this, coaching matters. And Mike Blesh is a great coach. Mike left the line, went to the quarterback, and getting the right mesh is important. And Clem has come in, and Jim Gush and I talked about after our spring game, and it was Clem all the way through. They don't do something until the spring game, and they got a little scheme that they hadn't used in the spring scrimmage, and here he comes. And I start hollering at him on the other side. I said, "Okay, Clem, this is like the old days." And he's just smart. He knows how to run the football. He knows how to protect the quarterback. And you know what else he does? It's been fun. Every day we've had 4 or 5 old offensive linemen or Baylor kids at our practice. Durango, Philip Blake came in. I mean, it was a bunch of guys have been up there, and it's fun to see Clem back in his element, especially on our team.
Well, he's as good as there's ever been. And you mentioned what Baylor and Dave Aranda, Ron Roberts, or what they did with Petrie and Bernard or whatever, and the old stories about you guys recruiting them. What are your thoughts about what Dave Aranda's now done? And I know you've talked about him before, you've gushed over him before, but what he's done, and he's starting to piece together some transfers, one or two a year, that help add to the depth and star talent they have on defense.
Oh, no doubt. Obviously, you and I talked about last year, the nose guard that they got a year ago.
Yeah.
Was a huge impact player for him. I think the kid, I think his name's White, that he got from LSU. I think he and Ron will probably do a great job of integrating them in the system. And, I told you this before. I just, after that first year, there was the doubt. And, I just know he's a football coach. And I knew that when he hired Jeff, Jeff has I've known Jeff a long time. And, it truly it helped their defense. I mean, their mentality of running the football, moving the back from linebacker to, whoever, that was the move of the year for me. I mean, that guy was a hell of a player. And I just think that they're doing, of course, their strength coach, I'm pretty fond of all. I always laugh. I said, my wife still does stuff for him and his wife in the mortgage, and they just don't get any better than Vic Floyd. And I think he has a complete staff. The people that left, I think he replaced them with good people. And one of the things I think he's doing, Smoke, that I really like, he's hiring people that knows him and they know what to expect, from him. And I think that means a lot.
Phil, it's always great to talk to you, man. We love it every single time. We appreciate your time.
Guys, you know how much I enjoy you guys. And I'm glad I got the full smoke today.
Yeah, you did. And by the way, the picture put that up, Jack. We have a picture that Taylor Bryan sent, and you are you have that angry face. You're barking. I mean, it's full throttle, Phil Bennett.
You know what? At 67, I need to get a little bit happier, don't I?
Thank you, man. It's great to have you, as always.
All right,
Thank
enjoyed you guys. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Coach.
The segments we started back when we started this show just over 2 years ago, when we had him on every week during college football season, was just gold.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as he decides that he's hanging up the whistle for good, we got to reinstate that because that was fun. You didn't get much of that last year, obviously, because he was coaching up in Denton. But good to see him in his element. And I know that I didn't want to ask him about it, but he lost a pair of defensive linemen, some brothers that had to be a sore spot, the Murphys. That's just part of the deal, is kind of the give and take of the transfer portal. But yeah, I didn't want to ask about them specifically, but I think we got all of his thoughts on the transfer portal and kind of how it operates. But that was a tough loss for them. But they did turn around and rebound despite losing that bowl game. They finished the regular season on a nice win streak. They got Ragsdale back there at running back. That's one player that immediately jumps to mind for me. He was really good. I do believe they lose DeAndre Torrey, though, to the NFL. He was fantastic, but I think that Ragsdale and company will be good there. They got the quarterback back. And they've had a good run of wide receivers over the years as well. So I'm sure that I haven't looked into that, quite frankly. But, I mean, they've had such a good run that I'm sure they've got some guys there. So, I mean, there's some pieces in place, and he'll have another year under his belt, and I'm sure that defense will be that much better for it as well. But, yeah, I mean, that move to conferences, that was a good question about, what's harder to keep track of. Because I was sitting there like, okay, what year do they move in?
Yep.
And then
who's in it?
Who's with them? And then when does that start? And then who leaves? And, all of that, it really is confusing. I mean, we really do need like a full-blown map with arrows pointing when, like, dates and everything else, because it's just a lot to try and keep track of. So I can only imagine for coaches who don't pay attention to the headlines nearly as much as we do, how confusing it must be for them. But, yeah, it's always good to talk football with Phil Bennett and get his thoughts and get him, uncensored and just full real deal right there with Phil Bennett.
We'll hear from David Hellman on the Cowboys as we approach the month of course, the draft coming up later on this month. And also Jerry DiPaolo, he covers Pitt, the Panthers, without Kenny Pickett back as the quarterback, and what they accomplished, if anything. They did during spring drills with their game wrapping up over the weekend. Sikkim 365 Radio. PettyClinicLowT.com. Dr. Kent Petty can help you become the high-performance man you want to be. How? Go to the website, PettyClinicLowT.com, top left-hand corner. There's an email and a phone number. Tell them I sent you. Contact them. And what they do is find out perhaps what is going on with you as you get older. Men, testosterone level can drop. 1 out of every 3 men have symptomatic issues of low testosterone, and maybe that is you. You sleep not quite the same. Your energy is not quite the same. Your sex drive is not quite the same. Maybe it's 1, maybe it's 2, or all 3. That's okay. It's part of father time. Dr. Kent Petty can get you lab work. He'll look at your results. He'll set you up. By the way, waive the discounted lab work. He's going to handle that for you. Go get your blood done. He'll look at the lab results, and if your testosterone level is too low, he could put you in a program to increase it, to help you become the high-performance man that you used to be, you want to be, and need to be at PettyClinicLowT.com.
It's Ram Truck Month at Allen Samuels, where you can get a new 2022 Ram 1500 Quad Cab Lodestar with values up to $6,500, or get $3,000 bonus cash and 2.9% for 72 months. First responders get an extra $500. This year's incredible deals are at Allen Samuels in Waco. Take home power, performance, and reliability with your new 2022 Ram today.
Come by. Let's be friends.
See dealer for details. All offers have credit requirements.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
David Ellman joins us Mondays in the 5 o'clock hours, DallasCowboys.com. And David, thanks for your time. What do you remember about any conversations or time you spent with Gary Brown?
Oh, man. Gary Brown was just, he was always in like a bouncy mood. Like he always had a smile on his face. He was always joking. He was one of the first coaches that would come out to practice at training camp, and like, you know, a lot of guys kind of like to pretend like they don't see or hear the fans and the media, like they're too cool for school. But Gary was always ready to joke around with reporters or fans that were near the fence. Just always had a joke to tell, or was ready to trash talk somebody about the college football game that had happened the week before, or whatever. He's just, you know, I didn't know him super well, but that was just always my impression being around him at work. I feel like people say that a lot, like somebody always had a smile on their face, but he really did. And I had heard that he was dealing with this for a while. And you hope for the best when you hear that type of stuff, but it wasn't meant to be, I guess. But yeah, a real bummer, and my heart goes out to his family, for sure.
Yeah, and David, here recently, Rayfield Wright and Jerry's longtime assistant as well earlier this month. It's been kind of a tough month around Frisco, huh?
You're not wrong. Yeah, Marilyn Love, like one of the backbones of the organization, really, and. You know, again, I didn't know Rayfield Wright super well either, but especially in my earlier years, my first few years working around the team, it felt like anytime there was like an event, Rayfield Wright was always at it. Like he was, you know, he would come out to training camp practices at the stadium or preseason games, certainly regular season games, or if the organization needed him to be at like an unveiling or something like that, it seemed like he was always there. And again, it's like a very jovial presence, always was ready to tell stories about the old days. It's been a somber month.
I did not know about Marilyn Love. I had not heard that. And she was just amazing. And she was the gatekeeper, right? She was the I remember one time when I was interviewing a couple of people back when the access was a lot different than it is now, and sat outside of her office waiting for a chance to visit with Jerry Jones. And she was just so fantastic. I did not know that. So, golly, I hate that. I know exactly where her office used to be when it was at Valley Ranch. Of course, things have changed as well. All right, so Malik Turner signs with the 49ers. He's a guy that made some plays, but, you can't keep everybody, and not everybody because they made plays is somebody you want to keep as a priority, is it?
Yeah, I think that's the perfect way to phrase it. I always feel like a jerk because, I mean, Malik Turner did everything you could ask of him. He was the sixth receiver on the team, kind of an afterthought, comes in, makes an impact on special teams, finished with like 200 receiving yards and had some really great plays in the second half of some games last year. But the brutal reality is, like, you should be able to find those types of contributions almost anywhere. I mean, there's always going to be a few undrafted free agents that kick around every year. You could draft a guy at the end of the draft. You could claim somebody off of waivers when training camp ends, which is exactly how Malik Turner got here in the first place. So all credit to him, and good for him getting a new contract and keeping his career going. But when you look at where you want to allocate your dollars, I just think it's better spent somewhere else. I think the Cowboys agree.
David, I mean, not a splashy free agent hire to talk about here, but Ryan Nall, is that basically just a special teams pickup and mostly, I suppose?
Yeah, I would say start with that. I was actually looking at his splits today. I mean, he was averaging like 60-65% of the special team snaps over this past season with the Bears. So, he's a guy that can be a core special teamer and be on most of your special teams units. And Mike McCarthy, not so much, ironically, not so much last year, but like for a lot of his Packer career, Green Bay had a fullback on the roster. John Kuhn obviously being like the really noteworthy one. So take him to training camp. Maybe he can carve out a role as a fullback and be like the fourth back on the roster, or otherwise a guy that can play a lot of special teams. Yeah.
So, Dave, I know you and Broadus will do that, was it twice a week? You do the draft show, and heck, you're doing it all the time, and you help us as well. In the end, the question's so generic, what do the Cowboys need to get in the draft? Talent, people who can make a difference. But what are a couple of things they have to find? That whether it's in the first round or the third round, they pick late in the first round, they've had success there. Your thoughts about that?
Well, I think I love the way you phrase that, because usually the Cowboys do just enough in free agency to cover their tracks, where it's like, okay, of course we need a defensive end, but we signed this guy and that guy, or of course we need a linebacker, but we've got him. And they've done that at certain spots. I mean, Dante Fowler is a great example. Dante Fowler can start it in for you and keep you from reaching for one in the draft, but he's not going to get in the way of you upgrading the position if it falls your way. James Washington, same type of guy. He's started plenty of NFL games, but he wouldn't stop you from drafting a stud receiver if the board were to break that way. But then you look at it this year, they have not done that at guard, and they have not, in my opinion, I know I just mentioned Washington, but they haven't really fully covered themselves at receiver either, when you consider that Michael Gallup just had ACL surgery 2 months ago and is probably going to miss at least a couple weeks of the season. So you look at it and you're like, as of right now, it sure doesn't look like you can afford to come out of this draft without a guard and a receiver. I mean, it looks like, in my opinion, they need to draft both of those positions in the top 100 just to get back to where they were last year. So kind of unusual, and it does make me question their draft strategy, where it's like, okay, are you going for broke, guard or bust at pick 24, or you have a much higher opinion of the backups on your roster than we do? It's kind of interesting, but that's the way it looks right now.
So Terrence Steele, who really helped save them in a lot of ways last year, obviously with what happened with Lyle Collins, they're all in on him. They have to be. That's based on their decisions they've made. What are the downsides of Terrence Steele, in your opinion?
I think Terrence Steele could stand to be a stronger, more consistent player. I mean, hey, I'm not going to trash talk the guy too much. I mean, he looked like he didn't belong in the NFL as a rookie, which to be fair to him, you go as an undrafted free agent and get thrust into the starting lineup essentially from day one. That's not surprising, but I don't think anybody thought anything of him as like a long-term piece at this time last year, which I'm sure the Cowboys would use that against my previous logic, is like, well, you don't know what these guys can develop into. And maybe that's true. But yeah, the leaps and bounds that Terrence has made are unreal. I think I like him more in pass pro right now than I do against the run. Like I said, I'm not sure he's a mauler, and maybe that'll come as you get bigger and stronger and continue to work in an NFL program. But yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. The Cowboys see him as like a starter on this team for the foreseeable future. So that's a big part of why Lyle Collins isn't here. I mean, if they didn't think the guy next to him couldn't play or the guy behind him couldn't play, they wouldn't have cut it. So for all the development that he might still have to do, I expect him to be the starter here for the next few years at the very least.
David, any truth that LSU has offered you a basketball scholarship to try and fill out this roster of theirs?
Oh, my Lord.
You know, yeah, it looks dire, but with the transfer portal and the way that guys don't have to sit anymore, it'll work itself out. I mean, like half of Murray State's team has followed Matt McMahon to Baton Rouge at this point. So I apologize to Murray State, but I basically think we're going to field their roster for at least the first year. And I mean, if I had to guess, we're probably going to suck. Like, I doubt LSU is going to make the tournament, but you know, they'll have enough guys that they won't need me, because my God, that's the last thing anybody needs. I think I'm terrible at all sports, but I mean, basketball might be the absolute worst. So I'm sure they don't need my contributions.
All right. Thanks, David. Appreciate it, buddy.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
David Hellman, DallasCowboys.com, joins us every Monday in the 5 o'clock hour on the Cowboys. And, of course, the draft now just a little over 2 weeks away. The WNBA draft is tonight with Nelissa Smith, most likely the number 2 pick in the draft. And then, Queen Egbo drafted at some point this evening as well. When we come back, we'll check in with the Pitt Panthers football team with life after Kenny Pickett. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. All right, Alan Samuels, a huge new car and truck inventory stock. They've added more brands that win awards year after year. Here's one, 2022 Ram 1500 Lone Star Quad Cab. Total values up to $6,500, or get $3,000 in bonus cash, 2.9% financing for 72 months. First responders get $500 in extra cash. Incredible truck, gives you everything you want: power, performance, towing capabilities, luxury feel, the repeat winner truck of the year, back-to-back Motor Trend truck of the year. The 2022 Wagoneer Series 2 and 3, 2.9% financing, 72 months, and $3,000 bonus cash. First responders, $500 extra savings. Incredible vehicle, performance, style, perfection. And oh, by the way, I have driven the Wagoneer Series 2, and it is phenomenal. The Wagoneer Series 3 is phenomenal times 2. Both of them are elite SUVs. It's Alan Samuels, Dodge, Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Fiat, Ted Teague, the general manager, and a great staff. They'll take care of you. Loop 340 east of 84 in Waco.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street in Waco, is a hidden gem. They've got a great selection of spirits, wine, and the most extensive selection of craft beer in Waco in their gorgeous walk-in fridge. And they have an amazing array of high-end bourbons like Pinhook, Weller, Buffalo Trace, Brush Creek, Hotel, Garrison Brothers, Thomas S. Moore, Hooten Young, and Bardstown. Great customer service and a convenient and speedy drive-through window. Riverbend Liquor and Wine. Find out more on Facebook and Instagram.
It's plain and simple. Waco Custom Marketplace is the one-stop shop for what you need for tailgating, from charcoal, cold beer, and wine. And, of course, customize your order with brisket, tri-tip, sausage, wings, smoked pork tenderloin, country-style or pork spare ribs, marinated beef and chicken fajita meat, ground beef and chili, meat, hot dogs, and burgers, buns, seasoning, sauces, chips. There's fresh baked bread and kolaches every day, breakfast sausage links. And you can also customize your favorite cut of steaks from Select, Choice, or Prime, bacon wrap fillets, ribeyes, New York strip, sirloin, T-bone, and porterhouse. Full service butcher shop includes pork, poultry, beef, chicken, and seafood, serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. Your one-stop shop for beef, pork, poultry, and seafood needs. Waco Custom Marketplace, 425 Lake Air Drive, or WacoCustomMarketplace.com.
Brad Boozer, Boozer's Jeweler, joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio. I've seen people walk in there. First of all, you have so much to show. Necklaces, bracelets, rings. You have the watches. You have numerous great watches as well. You really have pretty much everything, don't you, when it comes to jewelry?
That's correct. Kind of a one-stop shop and all. And the fact that we have the 2 jewelers on staff, the repairs we can do, the fixing of your jewelry, and the remaking of any jewelry has really set us apart from anybody else.
You want to know why they're successful? Brad Boozer, the owner of Boozer's Jewelers on the corner of Valley Mills and Lake Air in Waco.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Have you downloaded the Sikkim 365 Radio app? Do it today on the App Store and Google Play.
Jerry DePaula covers everything Pittsburgh with the Pittsburgh Tribune Review. Joins us on Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Jerry was going to have a Pirates game to cover today, but it got postponed. The weather in St. Louis, right?
Yes, it did. The Pirates only got to play 3 games in St. Louis, but they broke out of their slump, the 2-game slump yesterday, and got 15 hits, and they won. They beat the Cardinals 9-4. So we'll see what happens. They got the Cubs coming into town tomorrow, and the weather in Pittsburgh is supposed to be nice for the home opener. So we'll see what happens. I mean, there's not a lot of hope here in Pittsburgh because they got rid of their best players. They still have Brian Reynolds, though, and they just gave Brian Hayes a big contract through the year 2030, I think. So we'll see what they can do with a watered-down lineup, but nobody's expecting the Pirates to win more than 60 or 70 games this year, to tell you the truth.
All right, and anytime I talk Pirates, which is not why we had you on, I think about the greatness of Clemente and Stargell and all those amazing teams they had, and that's back in my wheelhouse when I was a kid. My older brother Robert was a huge Pirates fan, but Clemente's my probably favorite player of all time. So what is life in Pittsburgh without Kenny Pickett?
Well, they had their spring game the other day on Saturday, and they went through their 15 practices, and the best thing that happened, according to Pat Narduzzi, was that nobody got hurt. Everybody came out of it healthy. We didn't get the chance to see Steven Slovis, play much in practice because you only had to watch the first half hour, and that's most calisthenics and guys throwing the football on the air without a pass rush. But in the game, in the spring game they had, it's a strange format that Pat Narduzzi brought from Michigan State. He has the players draft their teammates. So they draft players on the 2 different teams, and the way it turns out is that a lot of the starters, half the starters on one team and half the starters on the other. In fact, the one team didn't have any starting offensive linemen at all, and that was the team Slovis was on. So he really didn't have much of a chance to do anything because he had backup offensive linemen trying to protect them. And Jordan Addison didn't play at all. In the Blitnikoff winter, Narduzzi was taking no chances with him, getting him hurt in a meaningless game. So he didn't play at all. Slovis, all I know about Slovis is that he was a big-time recruit coming out of Arizona. USC was touting him for Heisman consideration before the 2021 season. He got into some injuries. Of course, they fired their coach. But he ended up in 3 years at USC. He threw for over 7,700 yards, and just 50-some touchdowns. I think it was maybe 59 touchdowns. So the guy has some ability. He knows offense. New offensive coordinator this year, Craig Smoak Jr. takes over from Mark Whipple, who went to Nebraska. And Cignetti is a former good offensive coordinator. so he knows the drill a little bit. Plus, he was in the NFL for a lot of years. He tutored Eli Manning with the Giants, Aaron Rodgers with the Packers. So they're excited about having him tutoring Keaton Slovis. And, Nick Patty is still there. You guys remember the Peach Bowl where Nick Patty played it, and when Vic had opted out and didn't play, Nick Patty played, started that game, and he was running for a touchdown early in the game, dived for the pylon to try to score. He did score, but in the process, he broke his collarbone.
Mm-hmm.
Surgeons on the very next day, New Year's Eve, took care of that, and he's competing for the job. And right now, Narduzzi is not ready to name a starter. He probably won't be ready to name a starter until sometime in August.
Yeah, Nick Patty, that's an interesting little quarterback battle there. And there's so many changes going on despite the fact that as you mentioned, they've got their best weapon back outside of the quarterback there. But when it comes to Frank Cignetti Jr. and him taking over for Mark Whipple, how different does it appear, at least on the surface right now? How much change is being required of some of these guys offensively?
Well, it looks like that they're going to emphasize the run game much more than Mark Whipple did. And I'm not blaming Whipple for not emphasizing the run game, because he had a Heisman Trophy finalist as his quarterback. He wanted his quarterback to be throwing the ball to a Biletnikoff winner, with Jordan Addison. So they connected 100 different times, 100 receptions last year for Addison. But this year, with Pickett gone, I think you're going to see more of the run game. And they're pretty well stocked at running back, to tell you the truth. Izzy Abanikanda is back. He was leading rusher last year with 600 to 700 yards. Vincent Davis is a good scat back who can get the ball out of the backfield and make some people miss. And Rodney Hammond Jr. He was sort of a closer last season. So I put him in the fourth quarter, and he would carry the ball and grind out some first downs to grind out the clock at the end of that game. And then in the spring game, they got another guy that stepped up, Daniel Carter, who's been around the team for 4 years. And all of a sudden, he had a great spring. He was named the most improved player in spring. So they got 4 different running backs, and I think you're going to see Pitt run the ball much more than they ran it in 2021.
So Pittsburgh has the backyard brawl with West Virginia to open the year. Has it been really 10 years since they played?
Yeah, 2011, I think.
11 years, yeah.
Todd Graham was the coach. I remember vividly because the quarterback, Tino Sinceri, got sacked 10 times in that game down in Morgantown.
Mm-hmm.
And West Virginia won. But the history, they go back a long, long way. They played forever. And, of course, the big, one that people talk about is a 2007 game where Pitt knocked off the number 2 team in the country, and the Mountaineers were number 2, getting ready to go to the Fiesta Bowl. Pitt knocked them off 13-9 with a team that ended up 5-7 that year. So that was one of the biggest upsets in college football that season, and the Mountaineers still hold it against them, obviously. So 11 years was the last time they played. You're right.
Yeah, this will be the 105th meeting, and we see a lot of rivalries that have been discontinued. Nebraska, Oklahoma back last year after the changes in the conference and realignment. Why did they stop playing?
Pardon me? I'm sorry.
Why did West Virginia and Pitt stop playing?
They're different conferences.
Well, I know, but I thought they would continue that as a non-conference series.
Well, Pitt Penn State just stopped playing too.
Yeah.
That was also a big rivalry. But Penn State, claims they don't have enough room in their non-conference schedule because they play 9 conference games in the Big Ten. The Big 12 in the ACC only play 8. But for some reason, Pitt and West Virginia just never got together to schedule a game. But they get together, for the next 4 years. This game this year will be the first of 4 in a row that they'll play. So they wanted to play, but sometimes these things are hard to shake out. And there's a rivalry going on, and maybe they don't want to do anybody a favor. But smarter heads prevailed, and they are going to play now for the next 4 years.
So, Terry, last year, first time winning double-digit games since 2009. Had, obviously some Heisman buzz, had the Biletnikoff winner, ACC champs, that whole jazz. And now, obviously having to change over at quarterback. But, Narduzzi signs the extension. How good is life for Pitt football right now? How are kind of the fans feeling about all that momentum?
Well, everybody's pretty hyped up. People will be very disappointed if Pitt can't get into double-digit victories again. Now, they won 11 games last season, and I don't think they're going to win 11 games again. Their schedule is a little more difficult. They open up with 2 Power 5 teams. Both of them are home, West Virginia and Tennessee. But they don't play Clemson this year either. But they have to play Miami on the road, North Carolina on the road, and Virginia on the road. Three teams they played at home last year. Probably the 3 toughest conference games going to be on the road. And the defense looks good, though. I mean, they have a lot of guys back on defense. Elijah Kansas, defensive tackle, was a 3rd-team All-American. Savasky Dennis, the linebacker, was a 2nd-team All-ACC player. Guys make a lot of plays. The defense and the secondary has everybody back except Damari Mathis, the quarterback, who's probably going to be a 3rd or 4th round draft pick in a couple weeks. But everybody else is back. So there's 17, all the way, 17 starters back. And if Flo and/or Patty can turn into, at least a partial imitator of Kenny Pickett, I think they're going to at least win 9 or 10.
Jerry, thank you. I know you're about to take a break. I think you were saying you're off tomorrow or whatever. So thanks for your time jumping on with us today, and appreciate your time.
Okay, sir. Thank you very much.
Jerry DePaula, again, with the Pittsburgh Tribune Review. You look at the history of Pittsburgh football. They won the national title in 1976. That was an unbelievable team with Tony Dorsett, who won the Heisman Trophy. You pick out the best. There's certain schools you just can't pick the best, but with Pittsburgh, Dorsett, Hugh Green, Larry Fitzgerald, Aaron Donald, Mark May, and of course Pickett put up big numbers, but you put up just those names alone. And Dan Marino.
Yeah, he's good.
He's kind of pretty good. And he never really won a major award, but those are some of the names from Heisman to Walter Camp to Bednarik to Maxwell, Bronco to Gursky, Lombardi, Outland, Bolitnikoff with Fitzgerald. Now Jordan Addison, as Craig, you brought up. That's a hell of a depth of great names in that school's program history. Craig Hayward, there's another one. Bill Fralick. All right, we don't have a top 5 today because Paul is out, right, Jack? Thanks to Emery Winter. Thanks again to Faith Lynch. You got to finally see Faith today with the picture. And
she hates it.
She's thrilled about that. And also Jack McKenzie. Thank you, Jack. Great stuff doing all of what you did. Good luck to Nalissa Smith and Queen Egbo tonight with the WNBA draft. For Craig Smoak, Paul should be back, we think, tomorrow. I'm David Smoak. Thanks to our amazing sponsors. Those of you in the chat room, the text messages, have a great night. Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.